Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, and so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show. Booyah!
Hey, here we are. It's the ultimate Cleveland sports show. Mikey McNuggets on the panel today. Earl is in for Mikey McNuggets behind the glass. There he is. We'll get to Earl in just a little bit. G. Bush here as always, of course. And me. Here we go. A lot to get to today.
And Anthony's off. It was his birthday yesterday.
Yes.
He went to the Nickelback concert, and whatever happened to that concert, he's like, guys, I need a recovery
He
day.
wasn't supposed to be off?
No, he was in anticipation. But
Yeah.
we love Anthony, but he's 26 going on 106.
Is the youngest member of our team, and he can't work after a concert? I mean, that's pathetic.
Earl, correct me if I'm wrong real quick, but Nickelback doesn't feel like it's a concert that gets super rowdy, does it?
No, not at all. Like, I don't know if he was worried about the hangover or whatever the case may be, but I'm with Bull. You 26 years old, man. You got to be a real G about it.
Sounds bad.
Go to the
What a
concert,
soft
have
ass.
your drinks,
Hey,
bounce
man,
back and get that money.
Y'all hating. What if he laid up right now? He getting his cuddle time on. It's the birthday. They had
Good for you, Ant.
They had a nightcap. He trying to chill and enjoy the festivities. Y'all talk about coming to work. He might be getting bed and breakfast right now.
One other thing I want to hit on real quick before we get to our first real topic. So I tweeted this over the weekend. We were going to talk about it. We just haven't gotten to it, so I wanted to get to it real quick. I do this crazy thing. I know you know what I'm talking about,
Yeah,
Mike. I don't know if the rest
it's
of you guys do.
objectively crazy.
This is really weird, but I wanted to explain it. So, you know how, like, I don't know if anybody else does this in general. Say you're driving, G, and you're like, okay, I want to get to the next light before the guy that's driving next to me. You ever do that?
Yeah.
Okay, like you pick some milestone in your head.
Yeah, I'm going to catch you.
Yeah, I'm going to catch you or I'm going to pass you, whatever. But when I see somebody with a non-Ohio license plate, it really fires me up. Like, especially New York, because when I was 25, I was like, nobody outside of New York can drive. These hillbillies are all idiots. And now I'm the opposite. I'm like,
Now you're the hillbilly.
I'm freaking from Ohio. You're in my state. Get the hell out of here. I'm going to drive faster than you.
That would explain, G. Do you remember the one time me, you, and Bull got lunch at Melt?
Yes.
And I followed Bull, and Bull's like, just follow me. And literally 7 seconds in, one turn, Bull had left me at a red light and sped past, and I had to call
Out of
you.
here. Out of
Yeah, I
here.
had to call you,
smoked
be
him.
like, Bull, slow down.
And he didn't know where to go.
Oh, really?
It's because I don't have Ohio plates
I mean,
yet.
you do have
GPS.
GPS.
Well, I put it
for
in
crying out
eventually, and
loud.
I found it,
Yeah.
but you were like, hey, just follow me, no biggie.
I
and
didn't
then
remember that.
As soon as
Sorry.
we got on the highway, you were leaving me in the dust.
But I do this all the time, even if it's just getting to the next light. Or if it's like, if somebody is trying to go in front of me, if they have Ohio license plates, I usually let them go. If they don't, I don't let them go.
Do you know, if we're speaking about road rage real quick, and
Yeah.
Earl, I know we got a lot we'll get into, when they sync up the red light, so no matter how fast you go, unless you literally floor it,
Yeah.
you don't go from green light to green light progressively. You go
Right.
red light, red light,
I
red
know,
light,
it
red
pisses
light.
me off.
It drives me crazy. Why don't they sync it up so if you hit,
They
you
should.
start, you get at least 2 or 3 and keep it moving before you get stuck?
There's this long street in Brooklyn called Ocean Parkway, which goes from almost one end of Brooklyn to the other. Now it's overcrowded like everything else in Brooklyn. But when I was like in my early 20s, if you did it, I think it was like you had to drive 28 miles an hour. It was like a specific, I can't remember it now. You could go the whole avenue and never stop for light. And I did it like 3 times.
That's a great random rush, which makes
Yeah.
me think
Yeah.
for our segment with the DT tomorrow.
Yeah.
The best random.
Random rushes.
Yeah.
We're coming up with silly ideas for a draft we want to do with a DD in studio. Maybe the fans could vote on what are the good ideas.
Yeah, I gotta make sure
know.
DD's cool with it before.
All right,
so
we'll do that. We'll get to that.
DD will be in studio tomorrow.
All right, go ahead, Earl.
Real quick on the whole road rage thing.
Yeah.
2 things that really piss me off. I cannot stand being on the freeway seeing people drive with 2 hands. I think they're nervous and don't want to be there, and those are the people who typically cause the accidents. Furthermore, stop getting in the fast lane doing 60 miles per hour.
Fact.
Like,
Fact.
the whole doing 60, 65, I don't agree with that. I think you should drive with the flow of traffic no matter what the speed is.
100%. But also the reverse. If you're in the right lane, you can't be going fast. You got to leave those people alone.
Lead the old ladies.
Yeah, if you're in the right lane, you can't be tailgating somebody in the right lane. That's the slow lane. If slow people got to stay out of the left lane, the fast people got to stay out of the right lane.
My wife is a slow lane queen.
So leave her be.
She just over there.
Some people are nervous when they drive.
She got a booster seat. She can't see over the wheel. So we got to put the booster seat up high.
Yeah.
And then get her right here. And then she just got this little, and her shoulders come up and creep. It's like almost a turtle. Like her head goes down into her shoulders, so you don't, and she be up here just like this. She was like, babe, you must stay in the right-hand lane. All of the trucks over there are crazy. You need to get over, babe. I'm like, I'm not driving. You are driving. Right. What are you talking about?
In terms of two hands on the wheel, I barely use one hand on the wheel. Sometimes I just use a finger. Sometimes I use my penis.
Pause.
I'm kidding. I don't use my penis.
And you'd be like, why is you going to get in the dry Bull's car? You'd be like, why is this slimy?
Yeah,
there is.
Don't you dare take a blacklight in Bull's car.
No, don't do that. There is a scene in the movie Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Like
you guys
laser
see
tag.
that, where John Candy's driving with like his hips, basically.
My dad drives with his knee sometimes.
Yeah, with his knee?
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
The only time I ever put two hands on the wheel is if it's treacherous weather conditions.
Yeah.
If it's really bad snow or like a torrential downpour where I can barely see, I'll sometimes go with the two hands in that situation. Also, one last disgusting thing. Stop throwing your freaking cigarettes out the window, you pathetic losers.
Says the guy who drives with his penis.
Yes.
If I drive with my penis, that doesn't affect anybody else.
Only the people who have to detail your car.
And the people next to you at a red light.
Right. All right, guys. On today's show, our buddy Tyvis was at Browns camp yesterday, so we're going to go live to Columbus. I assume he's in Columbus, where Tyvis will give us a recap of what he saw at Browns camp yesterday. We talked a little about the Johnny Football documentary yesterday. Now everybody here has seen it in its entirety, and so we will talk more about that today. We'll do a little Darius Garland conversation later. Plus, Joe Thomas was on the Dan Patrick Show and had some really interesting comments about Deshaun Watson and talking about Deshaun Watson. We'll get to all of that. Earl, you got to read before we get into our first topic?
No, go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead. We'll do it after the topic before Tyvis.
Okay, sounds good. So, Shelby Harris, guys. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. Like, Shelby Harris, when he first came here for a visit, what was it, a week ago or whatever it was?
Maybe 2-3 weeks, right?
My first reaction was like, okay, he's a guy. I was like, the name didn't really strike a chord as if, oh, this is a really good player. I guess because I always think like, well, how many really good players are still out there at this point? Like, why is he still available? But then when the Browns signed him yesterday, I, of course, went to Pro Football Focus to see where his ranks were. And I'm like, wow, this guy's a 17th ranked defensive tackle in all of football. And against the run, he's number 5.
Yep.
Better than Dalvin Tomlinson. And the Browns are now the only team in the entire NFL that have 2 defensive tackles that were ranked in the top 17 last year on PFF. Does that mean they have the best defensive tackle combo? Maybe not. But last year they had the worst. So even if they're 10th, that's still a huge increase. The guy, it looks like he's getting about $5 million. Yep. So I have 2 questions for you guys. How excited, how big is this move? And why was he still out there? What do we think? G?
First
he's older? I mean, I guess that's it.
32.
Yeah.
Production, you very rarely see defensive linemen getting, big-time money after a certain age because of just the breakdowns and being, in the trenches. So I think age played a little bit of a role in it. And also, there's teams that like to go with younger players, right? They like to have guys that can be in the system where they can control assets for 4 years and figure out, and it's a low cap hit if they don't work. So you can cut guys, but you can also keep and sign guys easier by doing the draft and go with younger. But as far as am I excited, I'm super ecstatic because this is a move. And I've always said, Andrew Berry might not be that great at really drafting players, but when it comes to his trades and free agent pickups, he's top tier because this guy right here just transformed your defensive line into a defensive line that is formidable, athletic, and they are going to get after people. You watch him and you go back, just simply Google him. I like D tackles. I'm a D tackle junkie. And junkie. Go back and just watch some of the plays that he can make. McNuggets, I watched his short yesterday, and he was talking about it. But this guy is going to be a force along with Dalvin Tomlinson, Zadarius Smith, Obo. You got Myles Garrett. Remember, when we got Zadarius Smith, we were just talking about whether or not they have the best defensive line in the league, right? And they still had a question mark at the other defensive tackle spot. I think legitimately you can make you can make a case for them to be the top defensive lineman unit.
I'm going to piggyback off you right there. I do got to say one thing on Shelby Harris, and I'll get back to that. He was a cap casualty cut in Seattle.
Yeah.
He wasn't let go because lack of performance, lack of production. He's not a bad person. He's not a cancer in the locker room. He was let go simply because they just signed Draymond Jones, shout out St. Ignatius, to an $80 million contract, and Shelby Harris was set to make $9 million. So he was simply a cap cut casualty. He did nothing wrong. To piggyback off what G said, the Browns on paper, and granted paper means nothing until they prove it on the field, but on paper, the Browns do have the best defensive line in the entire NFL now. Bull alluded to it. They have 2 defensive tackles ranked in the top 17 last year. Dalvin Tomlinson, number 13, and now Shelby Harris, number 17. So they're the only team with that. They're also the only team in the NFL with 2 defensive ends who ranked in the top 20 last year. Myles Garrett, number 1, and Zadarius Smith, number 13. So you look at their starting defensive line from left to right. Myles Garrett, Dalvin Tomlinson, Shelby Harris, Zadarius Smith. Those 4 guys all ranked in the top 17 of their respective positions per PFF last season. And Bull always says, well, you got to prove it to me first. Well, until they played this year, all we can go off of was last year.
Sure.
All 4 of those guys were extremely productive, highly valuable, and none of them look like they're at the precipice of their career where they're about to fall off a cliff. Harris, the oldest of the group, maybe he takes a slight step back, but even if he does, the upgrade from Harris to what we had last year at the defensive tackle position is monumental. His grade alone, 72.3.
Yeah.
You could take any two, pick your choice, of the Browns' defensive tackles last year and combine their PFF grades, and it's about what Shelby Harris did by himself.
Yeah, and again, against the run, which is what you're really, the biggest thing there, he's excellent. I mean, he's
really
elite,
good.
or at least was last year. I didn't realize he's played a lot of defensive end in his career, too.
Because he's 6'4", 290, and he bulked up a little bit in Seattle.
Right.
But he's not Dalvin Tomlinson size. He's a smaller defensive tackle.
What the thing is they already have guys that are a little flexible in terms of being able to play inside and outside, and he's another guy that can play both as well. And if you have guys, we don't really talk about that as much, guys that when it comes to the defensive line, ability to be flexible and play 2 different positions essentially. But with a defensive coordinator as good as Jim Schwartz, he's going to be able to make use of that and confuse some offensive lines by moving guys around some.
Yeah.
And by the way, the guy was a 7th-round pick, and he's played, 8 years in the league or something?
8 years.
It's pretty impressive as a 7th-round pick.
And, G, you could attest to this better than anyone else. Maybe not just in Cleveland, but in the entire country. Defensive tackle, defensive linemen get banged up all the time. His ability to stay on the field is unprecedented. He's played since, his first season he only played 1 game. He wasn't hurt, just wasn't in the rotation. His second season he played 7 games. He's played 16 games in 4 of the past 6 seasons. The 2 that he didn't play 16, he played 11 and 15. The dude stays on the field, that's something that has a price. It's like the Visa commercial, priceless. You pay for availability, and for $5 million, you're getting a guy throughout his career who's been unbelievably durable in a position that, frankly, is not really durable across the league.
He's played in 88 of a possible 96 games in the last 6 years.
That is tremendous. When you're in the trenches, just little things there's so many things because it's a contact sport every single play. Receivers don't get every play. Sometimes running backs, they don't catch the ball, quarterbacks especially. But when you're up front in the trenches, you're going to hit somebody every play. Dumb stuff like wrist injuries or bicep tear, chest tears, pec tears, things like that. Not to mention there's all kind of garbage around your legs, ACLs, different things like that falling on people. For him to be able to play that many games in his time in his career is super impressive. And so if you look at it, for the most part, everybody up front that they brought in is durable. For the most part, Myles Garrett doesn't miss games. He flipped his car, still played. You look at Dalvin Tomlinson and now Harris. He doesn't miss very many games. And so, Zadarius Smith has been banged up a little bit, but they did a good job in supplementing him and getting Obo and getting that guy to be one of their Swiss Army knives. Yeah. And now you can move in McGuire. I think McGuire will move into one of those positions, second team. He'll probably take over for Wright and Isaiah Thomas. And now the Browns continue to roll.
Harris is definitely starting, right?
Yeah.
I would assume so, yeah.
So you look at their top 5 defensive linemen, right? So Myles Garrett's their best. But guys 2, 3, 4, and 5 are all new. Mm-hmm. And all big upgrades. Think about who their 2, 3, 4, 5 on the defensive line were last year.
Lord.
And so their second best defensive lineman last year was Jadeveon Clowney.
He missed a boatload of time.
And who was their third? Who was their third best defensive lineman? Can you even name anybody?
Taven Bryan, based off production and PFF.
Taven Bryan on this team would be at best their sixth.
He'd be cut.
Defensive lineman.
He'd be cut.
At best.
Yeah.
So at worst, he'd be cut.
Perrion did get cut. Tristan Hill, I think.
He's hurt.
Yeah. But Tommy Togiai, I don't think
he's gone.
Jordan Elliott.
Bye-bye. He may be gone. I think you got these 5 guys. You got Hurst, if he's healthy, he'll be on the team.
Are you talking about 6. D tackles or including
D line as a whole?
Yeah.
Hurst, if he's healthy, he'll be on the team. That's 6.
McGuire.
7.
Wright. I think they're not going to give up on Wright yet. I know you said this is the guy. But
I mean, they might go to IR. Well, they don't have to do IR yet because
but he could end up. But that's 8, and you're going to have what 9, maybe 9 defensive.
Yeah, your choice of whoever you like the most out of the rest.
We forgot about Ika. He's going to be here too.
Ika.
So that's it. That's 9 right there.
Hurst is the Mo Hurst, depending on his health.
Yeah,
could be the guy who of those 9.
It's possible he
slides out and someone else comes in.
But I like him if he's healthy.
I thought Siaki Ika played good.
Really good.
I thought he got a big 4th down stop. Yeah.
I think this move helps Ika though too, G, because now
strictly run,
but also. If it's 3rd and 3 and you think they're going to run, you could put Ika on the inside, move out Shelby Harris to defensive end, and you got 3 run-stuffing guys, or more, not that he's not a good pass rusher, but a more run-stuffing guy on the outside with Myles Garrett.
Right.
And now you have the flexibility to mix and match. And the one thing we talked about heading into the season before yesterday was we knew Dalvin Tomlinson, that second D-tackle position, was just a question mark. Guys had talent, just hadn't proven it. And now there's never an instance where you're going to have 2 guys on the field that haven't proven it on the NFL level. I don't think we'll ever see a situation where either Tomlinson
Myles Garrett
or
should
him
be
are out.
fresher down the stretch because you could take out a few of his few of his snaps earlier in the game. I know it sounds crazy to say, well, why would you have Myles Garrett on the field? But if Myles Garrett plays a few less snaps, he should be fresher as the season goes.
It's actually
and as
a good
the games
thing.
goes.
I agree.
Yeah, he still play a lot. He'll still play the most, but still, you want to keep guys fresh. It's important to be able to roll through a bunch of guys and have that depth. And the Browns have gone, at least on paper, from one of the worst defensive lines in football to one of the best defensive lines in football. It's amazing.
Defensive line and secondary, I think, are set. I love what they did out there. They even, from bringing McLeod to Thornhill, bringing some of that leadership. They got 3 good corners. And then now you look at it, they've upgraded defensive line, which is going to help who I think is the focal point of the defense if they want to be what they want to be. I think the Browns have an opportunity to be a team that you base your meta around. I think people, if they play well like I think they will, teams will start to copy what they've done. Because if JOK can learn to diagnose, read plays, trust his eyes, and not get caught up in misdirection stuff and be a sideline-to-sideline player, the Browns now have what I would say, one of the most devastating defenses because they have enough speed to really lock down fast quarterbacks like Lamar Jackson, but they still have guys that have the ability to cover in the back end if you're going against the elite throwers. And if JOK they can get him together, and what he does best is blitz because he just runs around people. That type of speed up front, when you got them and Myles Garrett and Zadarius Smith, that's trouble. That is trouble for people.
Can I ask you a question, G, real quick? And this came up on Behind the Glass last night when me and Earl were talking. Someone asked, how quickly do you think we'll see Harris pick up this defense and kind of assimilate himself to Jim Schwartz's scheme? Excuse my ignorance. I told you my football credentials yesterday. Not good. How much does a defensive tackle really learn scheme to scheme when kind of their job is eat blockers and go forward?
Especially when it's simplified like this. If you're playing, to be honest with you, 3-4 defense is way harder to play than 4-3 defense because you're moving laterally. And so if you're playing in a 3-4, and I played in both, 3-4 is asking your linemen to either move one step left, one step right. And when you're moving, you have a 3-person panel in front of you. If I'm lined up on face up with the tackle and the guard is on this side and the tight end's on that side, what I'm doing is I'm looking towards the guard or the tight end to tell me where I should be going. So if I come off the line of scrimmage, I'm not even worried about the person in front of me. I'm looking automatically at the guard because if the guard is coming towards me, I got to do what I call redirect and go the other way because he's trying to reach me. If I'm sitting here and the tackle or the guard blocks down, I know that they're trying to block down on another guy and get to a linebacker. So now I have to get to that and beat this tackle in front of me to the spot. So you got to have good peripheral vision. You got to be stepping and always watching. But when you play in a 4-3 and they just tell you pin your ears back and get upfield, that's what we all love to do because what we do is say, we're not worried about where the ball carrier is going. We want to dictate and cause havoc where the ball carrier can't pity-pat in the backfield and let me just pick my hole. No, he sees hole in the color in the hole like, wow, Myles Garrett is right in this gap, so let me cut it back. But when that defensive tackle's there and you got great defensive tackles, he's cutting right back into another guy that's getting in the backfield. So it's confusion, it's chaos, and every single play it puts maximum pressure on those 4 or 5 guys up front, and they don't get a break. That's why I like playing that.
So week 1, he'll be good?
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
It's still a month. Right?
No, I was just making sure because I feel like a quarterback, he comes in, it takes a while. Defensive tackle, very different.
The defensive line was already the Browns' most improved unit. I think does everybody agree with that or
not even close?
Yeah.
So now, it's just another level, and it is. I guess it's just that he was a little older, that he was still on the market.
I wonder if he decided, hey, I don't really want to sign till part of training camp's already underway. I'm 32.
It wasn't like he was getting a multi-year offer at his age.
I'm guessing that's part of the reason he waited.
Right.
And I'm curious, do you think, because I know he visited the Browns last week.
Yeah.
I wonder if they had a handshake deal in agreement a couple weeks ago. Hey, we're going to bring you in. You don't want to go to Greenbrier, but we want you. You want to be here.
Right.
And just kind of take his time till he was ready to come to camp.
I also think, and I said this about a week ago, this could be this was a referendum on Jordan Elliott. They put Jordan Elliott in the Hall of Fame game, and that was a signal, especially when you're a guy that used to start last year.
Right.
They're just trying to say, I'm going to give you every opportunity to go out here and prove yourself and do your thing. And we want to see if we need to go up and upgrade.
Yeah.
He played in the Hall of Fame game. We didn't see much. So that means he was a starter, and he did nothing against 3s and 4s.
Right.
So they're like,
he should have dominated.
You should have dominated. You should have.
When you've been in the league this long,
he should have been flashing.
Yeah.
And so they made the decision. Hey, look, we got to go get somebody.
So you guys think he's cut?
I think he's
yeah,
gone.
yeah,
Yeah, to G's point, I mean, he's a basketball reference here, but we watched the Summer League. I know you didn't, but we watched the Summer League, and you see the guys like Jabari Smith on Houston.
Yeah.
Came in, scored 37 in the first game, 40 in the second game. Like, all right, you're good.
He left. Just put him on the plane to go.
There's a clear level of guys who are proven NBA guys playing against guys in the Summer League, and in a situation like last week, Jordan Elliott played into the fourth quarter of the Hall of Fame game, which is the backups, because it doesn't really count, and he wasn't standing out in a way that made you say,
same for
who
Anthony
is this
Schwartz.
guy?
Oh,
exactly.
Exactly.
Just a little bit of writing on the wall is to G's point. I can't imagine now. Are you going to keep him over Mo Hurst?
No,
I wouldn't.
I know what Jordan Elliott can do.
Yeah.
I want to see more of Mo Hurst, right?
Right. I mean, if Mo Hurst is healthy, then you've got 6 proven good defensive linemen. 6.
Yeah.
They had. I'll give Clowney. I'll say
They
Clowney.
had 2. They had 2
last year.
Yeah.
One didn't
This year
play
they
up to
have
that
6.
level, but at least he was proven. This year they had 6.
And he had a good year the year before, to be fair. But they had 2. Now they have 6. If Hurst is healthy, even if he's not healthy, they have 5. So it's pretty impressive. There's not that many teams that have 5 proven starting caliber defensive linemen.
And Kevin Stefanski said that the starters are going to play. I would play. Who did I hear say this earlier? I forget where I heard it, but I thought it was a really good point. Anything that don't involve timing, those players not playing. Does it take timing to be like, oh, I'm a defensive lineman, I rush the quarterback? No. Like
So you wouldn't play Myles Garrett?
Heck no. We'll
I'm not.
sniff it.
We'll talk about.
So you're saying, okay, well, we'll talk about it a little bit about now, and then we'll get back to Watson later. We're going to have Tyvis in a little bit, but but you'd play Watson in the receivers?
I would play Watson and some of the second guys.
Not Cooper.
Not Cooper.
Nick Chubb doesn't take a snap.
No.
Not interested.
Nick Chubb would never take a snap the rest of his career. He's
never.
Not.
Zero.
We're gonna do some of this
Conklin.
tomorrow and later too.
Conklin.
No thanks.
No thank you.
No.
I would start Hubbard and DeJuan Jones.
Hudson.
Excuse me, Hudson. Yeah, Hudson. I can always call him Hubbard. Hudson and DeJuan Jones, they be starting. I get Nick Harris in there at guard a little bit because he has in poachage.
Yeah.
And I'm rolling with that. The guys. I don't need to see none of the linebackers. Taki wasn't going to play. Anthony Walker wasn't going to play. I wouldn't even really play JOK like that, to be truthful.
All right, we're going to get back to this in the second hour of the show. We'll talk more about what we're expecting from Deshaun Watson. Talk about what Joe Thomas's comments were on the Dan Patrick show with Deshaun Watson. We're going to go in a second to our buddy Tyvis, who's back home in Columbus after being at Browns camp yesterday. But first, we go to Earl. Earl.
What's going on, everybody? The Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show has a new sponsor, and I'm rocking that hat, man. Shout out to Bird Dogs, who came aboard. They are most known for their inner liner shorts and comfortable joggers.
Awesome.
McNuggets already has a pair. He raved about them. So go to birddogs.com, put your order in, get you some shorts, get you some jogging pants, get you some hats. If you can make a hat that can fit my head with locks,
That's
you're
impressive.
doing all right with
Very.
me. So Bird Dogs, man, shout out to y'all. Welcome to the team. Speaking of members of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show team, Tyvis Powell joins us right now.
By the way, McNuggets protects his McNuggets with his Bird Dog shorts.
They actually are extremely comfortable. Could not recommend them highly enough.
We got Tyvis?
What up, Ty? Oh my God.
Hey, bro.
Oh, wait.
Hey, bro. I thought you had. Bro, don't do that. I thought you was having a stroke. This is signs of stroke.
No,
What is
listen.
happening?
You good?
So listen, the thing is, now that I'm on this side, I'm looking. I realize how lazy my left eye. Y'all see that? Like it don't open all the way. Like my left eye, I feel like I got the Forrest Whitaker thing going on.
Oh no, we will tell you if you was the last king of Scotland.
Man.
Like,
That's not. Forrest Whitaker's got it way worse than you.
yeah.
That guy can act, though. I'll tell you that.
It ain't that far off, bull. I was looking at myself like, man,
That eye is kind of closed.
That's true. That eye doesn't open as much as the other eye.
I'm about to start wearing sunglasses from now on.
On the show.
His glasses is like the Walmarts in the hood. They only open at 10 o'clock.
Speaking of eyes, Tyvis, last time you went to Berea for camp, you said Deshaun Watson was better than Tom Brady.
It's true.
And the second time of you seeing Deshaun Watson in person this year at camp, was his second performance as good as the first?
No, it was not. No, it was not as good as the first. It was not Tom Brady-ish, but I mean, he did make some really good passes yesterday. He threw some interceptions, so I can't, it's part of the game. Not gonna make a big deal of it. I tell you what, the whole vibe around the media and the team is everybody's just ready for the regular season. Obviously, these starters are hyped up to be able to get out there and get a chance to play football. I don't think Nick Chubb is playing, but, so outside of that, everybody's ready to play football, but everybody's ready to get to the regular season. People's not going to get hyped up over Elijah Moore catching the ball over Denzel Ward. If that's we need Elijah Moore to make plays over Cincinnati's DBs. We need Denzel to lock up people against Cincinnati. Those are the things that everybody's kind of ready for. But overall, man, I liked it. I had some concerns. Yesterday for being there, but, it is what it is.
Well, we'll go with that. What are your concerns right now, Tyvis?
Well, Bull, it's funny that you asked. I got to sit up a little bit, in my car.
Well, you just said it. Of course he was going to ask, Tyvis.
So my concern is, they were running some cover 3 yesterday. And I was watching, they had Denzel in the slot. Obviously, G New's not in there right now, so Denzel's getting he's getting some nickel work in right now. And, he looks pretty good. My only concern is that, and I was talking to Nathan Zagura about this, and he went to go give me the answer, but I ain't really happy with the answer that I got. But that's neither here nor there. So when you're a buzz player, right? As a buzz player, that means you are So, all right, so you're in cover 3, you buzz into the flats. So you got the flats, but you also got to protect that curl and that 7-cut area. So it's a certain technique that I'm so used to. You know, you run 8 to 10 yards, you get to the number, and you got to flip your hips if number 2 or 3 is vertical, right? When I say flip your hips, I call it a hinge. So you run and you flip, you take your shoulder and you flip it towards the inside. So it's kind of like cover 2. You put yourself in a cover 2, so that way you deteriorate the quarterback from throwing that 7-cut, and you rally down to the flats. Well, my problem was a lot of these buzz players weren't flipping their hips, you know, so the 7-cut could be wide open behind them, but they never see it because they don't have their hips open to see it. And I seen it about 2 or 3 times yesterday, and I was just curious if it was something that was being coached or was that just something that they was just doing yesterday. So that concerned me a little bit yesterday. Another thing that concerned me was Dale Pitt. You know, Njoku got over on him 1 or 2 times yesterday, and I'm like, you know, Dale Pitt, you're gonna be essentially the Malcolm Jenkins of this defense. You know, you are responsible for covering running backs, covering tight ends, and you got to do a great job of shutting them down. You know, what made that Philadelphia Eagles defense so good outside of the pass rush? Well, they had a guy like Malcolm Jenkins, the leader in the secondary, you know, that was erasing a lot of things that could fix a problem in the secondary if it came with coverage, came with being physical. And Dale Pitt, I look at as that guy that has to get it done. And, you know, you can't be losing coverage. Now, don't get me wrong, Njoku's a really good tight end. But come on, man, you got to at least win some type of reps. And, you know, just the 2 practices that I've seen, I haven't really got a chance to see it out of him yet. So I'm hoping that I see it in this preseason, you know, just him getting his hand on the ball, man. That brings so much confidence by being able to put your hand on the ball, whether that's a PBU, whether that's a pick. But I also seen Juan Thornhill make a play out of the post yesterday, so I was happy to see that. So overall, I get a secondary. I give him a B. You know, Denzel had a nice little play. Got a nice little play. Got his hand on the ball. Got a tip up. The linebacker came and picked it off. Tips and overthrows. Got to get those. So, you know, I give him a B.
No, hold on. Let me get to this. So, what you saying? Delpit is getting beat. Is he getting beat on specific routes? Is he just not? Is he not aggressive enough, or is it play recognition? Is it he not reading the keys?
No, well, this was a man-to-man coverage. You know, he just got beat on the route, and I'm just like, you know. And then remember a couple weeks ago when they was in Greenbrier and they kept throwing them 7 cuts, and he kept giving up 7 cuts. So it's been like those little things where I'm like, those are big deals, you know. And like I said, I haven't seen him make a play. Now, don't get me wrong, maybe he making the plays and the Browns ain't posting it or nobody's talking about it. But from the stuff that I've seen with my own 2 eyes, you know, I haven't seen anything productive yet. And like I say, for a guy who is his contract year and a lot is riding on this season, whether or not they're gonna do really well because of him, he gotta let me see something. You know, I need to be more comfortable going into the season, and right now I'm not that comfortable.
Tyvis, you said Denzel tipped the ball. It got picked up. I think it was Kanasic. Did I say his name?
Kanasic.
Probably.
Jordan Kanasic. He's been playing a lot with the ones. Is there a chance he's going to end up being a starter, a surprise starter?
Well, I don't know about that. I tell you what, yesterday when I was in the 7-on-7 period, I got to see Anthony Walker and Taki in there. JOK wasn't in there for that. I don't know why, but you know that. So I seen it was Taki and Anthony Walker starting in 7-on-7. Obviously, when they went to the team period, you know, a little more bumping and I was about to say bumping and grinding. Whoa, pause. But a little more.
Super.
Listen, I stopped myself. Listen, you gotta give me credit. But there was a little more action in there, you know. That's when they put Jordan Kanasic in there, and I seen JOK in there as well. So I don't know. I don't know what their plan is moving forward. I guess the mic and the wheel is finally probably going to be Taki and Anthony Walker, which it should be, and they should let JOK play that Sam. But I guess we'll have to find out when the season's starting. Everybody's healthy.
Tyvis, you mentioned that Genu is not playing. What are you hearing about his status? Did you talk to Denzel? Like, what does he think about playing the slot at the moment? What did he say about the whole thing with what you talking about with guys getting their hips turned around? Or you didn't get a chance to talk to him?
So yesterday I left practice right before it ended, so I didn't get a chance to sit there and talk with any of them. Okay. I had to get back to the house. But like I say, I got the answer from Nathan. Nathan, you know, he explained because Nathan went out there. Because I talked to Nathan Segura like for the rest of practice about it, and he told me he'd go out there and ask the DB coach, and he'd give me an answer. And the answer that I got was he explained it the same way that I thought it should be, but he didn't explain to me why they weren't doing it. So that's the part that I'm a little bit curious about. But like I say, I'm an undrafted guy. Maybe they know some more than I don't. So, like I say, it's one of those things that if they give up a 7 cut in the game or in the season, just know that I told y'all. Like I told y'all last year about the defensive tackles. I'm telling y'all right now, they look like they are a victim to them 7 cuts this year. And if it happens a lot, shame on them.
Earl, go ahead, man.
Tyvis, so we know we done lost Jerome Ford at least to the start of the season with a hamstring injury. When it comes to the running back position, man, what did you see yesterday? Who was getting a lot of the running back 2 work behind Nick Chubb, and how do you think this situation is going to look moving forward?
Well, I mean, it was exactly what we thought. It was Demetric Felton in there for a ton of the reps. I tell you what, another thing that was concerning that I seen yesterday was it must have been just the defensive day, and I'm happy for the defense for the plays that they made, but I seen too many turnovers. I seen picks. I seen the guys punching the ball. I think it was 2 fumbles yesterday. So I'm just like, ball security is becoming a problem. I think one of them was actually Demetric Felton too. So I think that like Demetric Felton is good. He definitely gets everything done, and he does the things that they want them to do. John Kelly was in there as well. So it was exactly the people that we thought it would be. I don't think they didn't seem like they were concerned. When I talked to guys around, the people in the media or the people around the Browns, they didn't look at it like it was a big concern either. They just thought that they just basically everything that we talked about yesterday, they just run the season with Demetric and John Kelly because they are so reliable and they get the same things done. So it don't seem like it's something that people need to be worried about.
Ty, I haven't been out to Berea for a training camp practice yet, but you read the reports, and a pretty constant thing you see in the reports is Myles Garrett's having his way with Jed Wills in the individual pass blocking drills. And granted, I think any offensive tackle would struggle going against Myles Garrett in these type of situations. But are the concerns about Jed Wills trying to block Myles Garrett and not having any success doing that kind of being overblown from what you actually saw with your own 2 eyes?
Yeah, to a little bit. Now, if you want to be a premier left tackle and you want to get paid, obviously you're going to have to go up against guys like Myles Garrett and get things done. So from that aspect, it's alarming. The one clip that went viral yesterday was, Myles Garrett took off and got past him so fast that it was ridiculous. Well, he's got to find a way to stop that. And I think that going up against Myles is going to help him. But at some point, he's going to have to win these one-on-one battles if he truly wants to get paid. Not even if it's by the Browns. If it's by anybody else in the league, he wants to really get the bag, as the kids would say, then he's got to be able to dominate these one-on-ones and at least buy his quarterback some time, man. What Myles did to him yesterday made him look very Muni League-ish. So he got to figure that thing out. And he got, like I say, the good news is yesterday was August 9th. And they don't play for another month. So he got time. I'm not concerned yet. He's got, 3-4 weeks maybe to figure it out. He better figure something out, or Kevin Stefanski better figure something out. And it might involve some chipping and some tight ends on that side to chip to help out. And it's a lot of ways to get through it, but I really think he needs to figure out and dominate them one-on-one situations.
Man, we not trying to hear that, man.
I'm just telling you. I'm just telling you.
I know you just a messenger. You just trying to show you. You trying to just show you the Lord's picture. I get it. I understand it, Tyvis. But we need all our weapons. Like, if we in a war, I don't want to hear, hey, General G. Bush, we're going to have to keep our Air Force around to make sure our supply chain to the battlefield is secure. I'm like, no, I need all the jets, all the trains, all of the tanks, and all of the Navy to be there so we can get this money off. I'm not trying to have them stand there and ship for jet wheels. I need you in the route.
Last year, did he give up a lot of sacks?
Bro, I don't know how many sacks he gave up. I know his.
I don't think he was a major problem on the offensive line. He had a problem, where he looked lost out there. But as far as
have you seen the? He got a highlight. He got a highlight tape of nothing but bad. It's the Jedrick Wills Looney Tunes hour. Which way did he go, George? Which way did he go? Where did he go? Is he up here? Is he down there? Listen, this dude be looking, and then he'll stop in the middle of a play. Somebody will beat him, and he'll just be like, is this Frankenstein move? Like, you just got beat. And then Coach Calhoun or Callahan tries to give him some props to build him up. Like, he just needs to be more aggressive. Bro, you can't teach no aggressive to no offensive lineman. People is coming to steal your lunch every play. That position Myles Garrett play is the same position the Bosa brothers play. The same Chase Young plays those positions. Defensive end is a premier position in this league.
Did we play them this year?
Yeah, we play the Bosas. One of the Bosas.
We played both the Bosas this year.
We got the 49ers this year. We got multiple guys that just alone. Listen, we play the Bengals. They got.
Wait a minute. Listen, how many tackles in the league that can handle those two without help? Don't worry.
By the way, Jedrick Wills 56th out of 81 qualifying tackles according to PFF.
Speak to that. What about his run grade?
Run grade?
Yeah, let's get to the run grade. What are you doing?
Wait a second.
You set yourself up for this.
Scroll up.
How I set myself up? It ain't got nothing to do with me.
You're still scrolling. Bull is still scrolling. Dang, this list is long.
What I'm saying is, if he go out there and he struggled, there is ways to get through a game, and that's called chip blocking and doing all that other stuff. It might be not ideal, but that's what you're gonna have to do.
It's called. Hey, DeJuan, come over here. Hey, somebody.
DeJuan play right tackle.
No. He's gonna get some. He's gonna get some left tackle love this year too.
Bull still strong.
By the way, 72 out of 81 in run grade.
72 out of 81, my man.
Out of 88. 72 out of 88. By the way, Jack Conklin was even worse.
That's a little bit better.
The Browns have two of the 20 worst run blocking tackles last year.
And yet Nick Chubb making y'all look awful good up there. Nick, you better. Usually people buy offensive lineman gifts. You better give Nick Chubb gifts. Like, here you go, Nick. I'm gonna just give you this Rolex.
What does the PFF really know?
Oh, here we go. Maybe the election was stolen.
Tyvis, we have it. The Guardians. The Browns signed Shelby Harris. I'm sure you've seen the news. We've been talking about it already.
Boy.
Why do you think he was still out there? Is it just that he didn't want to sign too early? He's an older guy. Whatever. He seems like a pretty impactful player to be signing this late, no?
Yeah, I mean, I talked to some guys. Actually, I was talking to a couple of guys yesterday. Like, they had Shelby in there. Why didn't they sign? Why didn't Shelby sign here? And he was saying that the deal was on the table. He just wanted to, go around and see all the other teams before he made his decision. And he felt like the Browns was his best fit. So it's good that, he decided to come. I think Shelby, obviously, like I said, I got to play with Shelby in 2019 when he was with Denver. Shelby is a really good teammate, man. Hilarious guy, actually. Very, very funny guy. Very productive, especially in the passing game. And it's not necessarily the rush. It's the fact that he can get his hands up and knock the ball down and really get PBUs from a defensive tackle position, which is huge. I said, in 2019, I was with Denver. I think he was second on the team with PBUs as a defensive tackle, which is ridiculous. But Shelby got what'd you say?
He had more PBUs than you?
Well, yeah, I was on practice squad, so yeah. Hey, this is the thing. If I was playing, then no, he wouldn't.
Oh, that's
if I was playing, Denver probably would have won 17-0 that year. I'm just
Ty, when you're at these practices.
By the way, real quick, because Tyvis brought up the PBU, so before you get to it, you're right, Tyvis. He's had 29 PBUs in 98 games. That seems like a lot for
that's
a
defensive lineman. A whole lot.
That's like one almost every 3 games. For a D lineman, that's a lot.
And PBUs is the most
it's devastating,
infuriating thing in the world because you be so mad, like, I can't even see if the ball was going to be completed or not. Oh, I hate that, bro. I'd rather get it picked off almost. Like, at least I got a chance.
No, you don't, because you get fired. You can walk in the unemployment line. You throw too many picks.
Ty, when you're out at practice, do you get the itch to suit it back up?
That's funny that you say that. So Joe Hayden was there yesterday, and me and Joe Hayden was, Joe was like, "Come on, man, walk with me. Let's talk." So me and Joe walking around. Joe got the socks on. I said, "You ready to get back out there, huh?" It's like he was like, "You know what? I go back out." I said, "Yeah, I go back out there, Mike, man. I miss it, man. Every time I get around ball, man, I just think about, like, man, I hope these guys understand the opportunity that they have. I hope they enjoy this game, because once it's over, and you're going to miss it. So, yeah, I definitely would love to go out there. Now, I don't know how long I'll be able to be out there, but if you give me one play, give me one one-on-ones with Amari Cooper, I'm locking him up. Now, it's right. You heard it here first. I'm locking him down. Elijah Moore is done.
Did you tell Joe Hayden he has to come on the show? We've been trying to get Joe for 14 months now.
Joe and I used to be boys. He used to come on my radio show all the time. What happened?
Yeah, Joe, listen, if I ask Joe to come, Joe is big into the media. Like I said, me and him was walking around.
He was just talking about yesterday.
We've been trying to get Joe for 14 months, Tyvis. So tell Joe, open invite, whatever he wants. We will roll out the red carpet for Joe.
Told me that, I would have told him yesterday. Like, Joe, what's up? Mess with us on the UCSS.
Oh, by the way, Tyvis, give us a scoop. Can you confirm that Richard Sherman is taking over for Shannon Sharp with Skip Bayless? Can you confirm that?
Yeah, Sherman has accepted the job. It was some back and forth negotiating going on, but they found my boy his money, and he'll be on for I forget how many. I think it's like 50 episodes or something like that. And he's got to do like 20 of them virtually, or 20 of them in person. But yeah, he'll be on there. He definitely accepted that role. I don't know if he'll be on every day, but he will be on.
So he definitely ain't coming on UCSS. They might chalk that up. He didn't got the big time role now. It's a wrap. He ain't never coming on here. It's a shout out to him.
Listen, Sherm would come on the show as a favor of me, but it's other things that goes into that. So we have to see about that.
Yeah.
Sherm's daily fee is a little higher than we can probably afford.
We're not playing.
You and Brad better start delivering.
Yeah, man, we need MJ.
You elbow rubbers. Y'all cats be rubbing elbows.
That's a bad job.
You get these dudes in.
You was literally rubbing elbows with Joe Hayden yesterday. You just told us.
Yeah, you didn't.
You dropped the ball. I didn't know that y'all wanted Joe on the show.
Just assume.
Why wouldn't we want Joe on the show?
Just assume any person that you played with that got a PFF grade over 60, we want to talk to. All of them. I don't care if they had a cup of Kool-Aid. Come on in.
So we can't get Jay Wheels on the show?
Listen,
we'd have him on, sure.
Sure. What's wrong with him?
But he doesn't meet the requirement.
He meets one requirement. He starts and he extended. He got $14 million. So he is a big part of what he's trying to do.
That's not an extension. That's called picking up a fifth-year option. The extension is, what an extension is.
No. I graded differently. The extension was, I'm going to give you this year too. Now, if I was not signing, I'm like, nope.
By the way, if I would have told you after their rookie year that Jedrick Wills was going to get his option picked up and Chase Young was not, you would.
No one believed it.
I don't know that Jedrick Wills has earned it, but
that's
Chase
crazy.
Young is crazy because he's done nothing since his rookie year. He's been hurt.
He's been hurt.
Yeah.
Listen, you can't make the club in the tub. Everybody knows. So listen, Chase got to come out there. He knows what he got to do. He got to go out there and have one of them seasons. The best thing is they kind of did him a favor because if he balls out this year, he's closer to getting his bag quicker. He don't have to wait through the fifth-year option. He can get it next year. So a lot of it rides on this season. He either gonna make or break. He either gonna make himself a lot of money or he'll have to sign some one-year prove-it deals from here on out.
Well, that's what happened with Daniel Jones. Remember, the Giants turned down his fifth-year option, and then he had a great year and he got paid.
Exactly.
Don't do the clowny. Don't be out here being a mercenary for them 1 year, $10 million deals. That's rough out here for a player.
I'd take
it. They give me $10 million for 1 year. Tell them to call me. My phone, my body is still in shape. I might need to drop a couple pounds. Don't listen to G. Bush. I need to lose like a solid 10, and I'm back out there. You know what I'm saying?
It's obnoxious when skinny people talk about losing weight there, Tyvis.
Hey, y'all know I'm intermittent fasting. I think I said that correctly.
You did.
Yesterday was hard, man. I do 11 to 6. I wouldn't recommend it for a lot of people because yesterday traveling from Cleveland to Columbus, I kind of missed my eat window for like dinner. So I ate at like 4 o'clock. And yeah, last night.
Rest of the day be hard on that intermittent fasting game. You be looking around. You like, can I have I just want a granola bar. Just give me something.
Hey, I'm down 4 pounds since I've started it, so it's working, but it's not easy.
All right, Tyvis. We feel really sympathetic for your weight loss journey. Buddy.
Oh, one last thing. I watched the Johnny Manziel thing. I can't believe that you that's what you wanted to talk about? That's what you was mad about that we didn't watch? You know what? I can make an untold story that's more interesting than that.
Really? You just find it interesting, huh?
No. It wasn't nothing that I didn't already know.
All right, fair enough, Tyvis. We'll talk to you later.
Thanks, Dot.
Go Bucks, go Browns, go Guardians, go Cavs.
Get that eye looked at, bro. You over here sleeping.
All I need is some barbecue sauce and bam, it's just going to pop out like that right there.
Put a nice jalapeno in there. All right, we'll see you later.
What the hell's
All right, good to chat with Tyvis.
What the hell's barbecue sauce got to do with something?
Guys, it's time for 32 and 32. You guys have totally destroyed this list. It's been a disaster.
But it's secretly our best segment.
But before we get into that, as McNuggets told you all yesterday, the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show has a partnership with Fanatics.
We do.
And we dropped the link in the chat already. So what happens is, man, you can go to Fanatics. You can get your Browns gear. You use that promo code, and we get a portion of the earnings. So go out there and get your Browns gear. Brown season is around the corner. First preseason game at Cleveland Browns Stadium is Friday. I know you want to be fresh when you pull up in there. So spend some of that paycheck money. Everybody get their checks early.
It's a promo code?
No, it's a link. It's a link.
It's a link.
If you use that link, any Browns gear you buy through that link, we get a little bet. It's fanatics.com/UCSS. Basic. It's in the chat. But like I said, you don't got to help us.
Yeah.
Just do what you normally do. And that's the start of football season. Buy some Browns gear instead of buying it elsewhere. Use the code for us, or the link for us, excuse me. There it is on the screen. It's fanatics.com/UCSS. It doesn't cost any extra. It's exactly the same. We just get a little portion back. So we appreciate you guys helping us by helping yourself look fly for Cleveland Browns season.
By the way, last week fans were crushing me because I said the preseason sucks. I don't care. And people were mad about it. And here's Tyvis saying the players are done with the preseason already. They want the real game. The players don't give a shit about the preseason. Not the players that matter. And the preseason sucks. Wins and losses don't matter. And the regular season can't get here soon enough.
No, I love everybody loves the regular season. Everyone thinks the preseason is a little bit too long. But from a perspective, for some people, it's important. To some of them, it ain't.
To the players, I get it. I'm just saying, as a fan, I only watch the preseason because of the job I do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If I don't watch the Bengals preseason games, I don't care. I'll see you in the regular season.
I woke up this morning on my way to work, like, man, what I'm gonna do when I get off? And I was like, damn, it's preseason football on today. So for me, just the fact that I get to watch football is good enough for me. I understand preseason really don't count for much, but I've missed it.
It doesn't count for anything. In terms of what it means for the team, it's meaningless. I loved when people tried to say, well, if you do well in the preseason, it might translate to
the Ravens have won 22 straight preseason games.
Yeah.
And I'm just talking about from a fan's perspective. Again, it don't count for much, but just my entertainment, my peace of mind, my distraction from everything else.
Yeah.
Just to sit back and get a chance to watch some football.
To Earl's point, there was cornhole on ESPN last night.
Yeah.
Give me preseason football
Why
over
did you
cornhole.
just watch baseball?
Well, I was just flipping through the channel. I didn't
The
stop.
Guardians are not worth. I'm not watching the Guardians anymore this year.
I didn't stop and watch. I'm just saying I flipped through the channels and I was like,
I was watching
cornhole.
the Cubs play the Mets and getting angry that they lost the game to the Mets.
It's just football on TV is good. At the end of the day, football on TV is
That's
good. Even if
true.
it's irrelevant in the grand scheme of things, football is better than no football.
I'll never forget the Browns went 4-0 the year 4-0 in the preseason. The year they went 0-16.
And the Ravens have won. It is actually a crazy stat.
Yeah.
To win 22 straight
Don't
preseason
care.
games. I know it doesn't matter, but that's absurd. The fact that they've done that, it is absurd.
Yeah.
That's like 7 preseasons in a row they haven't lost.
Well, and
0 Super Bowls.
I think the preseason matters to certain things like this, like Deshaun Watson, right? People need to see him in some rhythm.
No.
Well, we'll get to that in a second, but first let's get to the 32 and 32.
Yeah, 32 and 32.
Yeah.
We are number 20 on this list, man. Speaking of this list, I have to be honest with you. Me, McNuggets, and Anthony put together probably the most stellar list in the history of the Ultimate
Facts.
Cleveland Sports Show doing
That
this.
is untrue.
Wow.
Number 20 on this list is Wyatt Teller. What impact can Wyatt Teller have on the Browns this year? We know he had a down season last season. To me, I think this is his last year with the Browns unless he restructures his contract. But what are you expecting from him this year?
I'll start, I guess.
Go ahead.
I do think Earl's right on point that unless they do a major restructuring of his contract, I think there's a more than 50% chance, probably more than a 70% chance, this is his final season in Cleveland. He has to play like 2021, 2020 Wyatt Teller for the Browns to reach their full potential this season. And I think the big reason of that is we all know Deshaun Watson's a great athlete. When pressure comes from the outside, you can step up in the pocket, find a lane, and create. The hardest thing to do as a quarterback is to evade internal pressure. That's why guys like Aaron Donald and Chris Jones are so valuable in the grand scheme of the NFL. And if Wyatt Teller can't keep those guys from getting into Deshaun Watson's face within half a second, then it's a lot harder for Deshaun Watson to then evade a guy when the middle's already collapsed and you can't get to the outside because edge rushers are taking that outside route and forcing Jed Wills and Jack Conklin to push him back inside. So interior pressure is the most unstoppable thing for an offense to deal with. And you have Bitonio on one side. They're not going after him, so they're going to be going after Wyatt Teller, which is why I think 20 is about the right spot for him this year. He has to play well for them to reach their potential.
By the way, if Over the Cap has this right, and they're usually pretty reliable, the Browns can't. I mean, if they cut Wyatt Teller next year, there's almost $3 million in dead cap space. That's a lot.
Yeah, but they have a lot of guys that are.
His contract's not looking great right now.
Teller?
What you mean, like in terms of like
Long-term sustainability or just in general?
I mean, so
He's probably gone next year.
they're going to take a $3 million dead cap hit
But look
to
at
save 6.4.
Is that all they save by cutting him?
That's it.
So, to me, I think he's very important to what they want to do. I heard Ryan Clark on the other day, and he said something that I wholeheartedly agree with. He said, people believe that when you got a quarterback like Deshaun Watson and Nick Chubb, that it's one or the other. And he said, that's a basketball mentality. He's like, you saying that like you got two guards and one is both of them ball dominant. How many balls are going to go around so you can score? He said that's not the case with Deshaun Watson and Nick Chubb. Then it becomes about situational football. In certain situations, it's up to the coach to figure out what plays he wants to run in those situations in order to maximize the success of the team. So if I'm looking at it like from this standpoint, I know everybody throws the football, but to me, I believe when I watch the Kansas City Chiefs, there's one way that you can beat the Chiefs, and it's a very slim margin if you just want to go throw for throw with them. You got to physically punish the Chiefs. You have to be able to when there's always a point in time where Chris Jones or somebody on their defense gets a sack or makes a play because you're throwing the football. But I believe that when they put their nickel package out there, the Cleveland Browns have to smile and say, we have the advantage. We have the best running back in the game. We got road graders up front at our guard position. We need to run straight at them to get these dudes out of here. And I think if you can out-physical the Chiefs, out-physical the Bills, out-physical the Dolphins, and punish them with what you got, and then you set up the pass, I think the Browns will be exponentially a better offensively. So I think Wyatt Teller is a big part of what they want to do. Hopefully for him, he stays healthy. That's his MO.
Yeah.
He gives a lot of punishment out, but he takes a lot of punishment.
Yeah.
Especially when you run the ball a lot. And the Browns have run the ball more than anybody in the last 3 years. That puts wear and tear on Conklin, wear and tear on Teller. You see what happened to Harris. Joe Bitonio's had a lot of wear and tear, and Will seems to be injured from Jump Street. So you got to always take into consideration when you do run the ball, your offensive line is in harm's way as well. So I like Teller. I think if he could get back to what he was, to your point, McNuggets, I think the Browns will be one of the most formidable offenses because they now have one of the best offensive lines and defensive lines in the game, and that translates because we want to beat you up.
If you look at the cap savings, Wyatt Teller, we were all thinking he was going to be cut, but I don't think so. Not based on the cap. You'd save a lot on Joel Bitonio, but I don't know you want to go there. You could save a lot cutting Amari Cooper next year. But anyway, next year is next year. As for this year, Wyatt Teller's still very important. I agree with G. The guy played at an all-pro level a couple of years ago. His biggest problem has been he's been hurt, and that has kind of set him back. I still think he's a really good player. He's not as good as Bitonio.
No.
Bitonio's the most consistent guard, but one of the most, probably after Zach Martin, he's the most consistent guard in the NFL. But Wyatt Teller's a really good player. And if he can stay healthy this year, he can get back to that. But it's hard to have a lot of faith in him staying healthy. That's really the biggest flaw. I know we talked about Jedrick Wills. In terms of, the offensive line, like if healthy, I'm only really worried about Jedrick Wills. But with Conklin and Teller, I'm worried about both of them getting hurt. I mean, they both have a history of injuries.
And you have DeJuan Jones now is slated to be the backup.
Yeah.
He's played in one preseason game, and it's a pre-preseason game.
Right.
We don't.
Well, they have James Hudson. I mean,
Hudson's more of a guard than a tackle, isn't he?
No, he plays left tackle.
Yeah.
I thought he kind of filled in everywhere. But whatever. So you have James Hudson as well. But it's unproven commodities. And when your investment in Deshaun Watson is what it is, in any franchise quarterback, Deshaun Watson, name it, any of those guys, your season relies on their health. And the guys whose job it is to keep that quarterback standing are so vital. And that's why I think Wyatt Teller, if he gets back to the 2020, 2021 form where he had a 90-plus PFF grade in back-to-back seasons, just takes this offensive line to another new level.
Yeah.
So.
It's I'm still surprised they signed Jack Conklin to that extension.
I'm very surprised.
That was a head-scratcher at the time.
Super surprised.
Conklin, and how old is Conklin at this point?
I was super surprised at that.
He's like 28, I think. He was drafted 2015, I believe.
Conklin is 28. You're right. Actually, he's about to turn 29. He'll turn 29 in a week. He only missed 3 games last year. I don't know why I thought he missed more than that.
Because he was just always banged up. It was always the question.
He was in and out of games.
Yeah.
And he missed 10 games the year before. His first year in Cleveland, he only missed 2. But he's played 1 full season in the last 5 years.
Wasn't he all pro his first year in Cleveland?
He was.
Yeah, he was phenomenal.
He was all pro.
He's been really good when he's been healthy.
It was all pro as a rookie in 2016 with Tennessee, and then all pro in his first year here. But at 20, listen, if he stays healthy, okay.
Boy, McNugget said something last night on Behind the Glass before we move on to Johnny Manziel. I just want you to elaborate on a little bit. You said, there's a world next year to where the Browns can have 3 new starters on the offensive line.
Yeah, I do think that's possible.
It doesn't sound like it, though, because, they can't get out of Conklin's contract after next year.
Well, Conklin's not who I was referring to.
They can't get out of Teller. I mean, they could, but they could get out of Bitonio.
The Teller thing, in my mind, was a much bigger savings.
Yeah.
But if they don't like Jed Wills doesn't perform this year, he's probably replaced. Ethan Pochus on a 3-year extension. It's really a 1-year deal plus 2. They can get if they like Luke Whippler and Pochus isn't the 90 PFF
they
guy.
need to get younger on the O line.
But I'm just saying, there's a world.
Spend big money on 5 offensive linemen.
There's a world where next year you're looking at a new tackle, a new center, and a new guard.
It's possible.
There's a world where that exists. So.
Yeah, and I will say this too. I'm not so sold on Amari Cooper not being here. Like, if Amari Cooper comes out and he's playing with the best quarterback he's ever played with, and they got a connection, and he goes over 1,400 yards.
He's probably back.
He's like, why would you cut him?
No, I would think they try to renegotiate.
Yeah, or restructure. That's
maybe
fine.
Give him an extension, but at a little less money per year.
I mean, because listen, that production is hard to find.
Browns have a lot of cap questions. At the end, whether it's Cooper, Teller, Bitonio, Chubb, the list goes on and on. They got a lot of guys who are either on 1-year deals, like Zadarius Smith, who plays well. I'm assuming you'd want him back, but you may not be able to sign him monetarily.
Let's worry about that.
But that's all next year.
Way too much about
that's what I'm saying. It's all next year. We're not even at this season.
Yeah,
we're not even at 2023 yet.
Yeah. All right.
Are we talking Watson real quick though? Are we gonna do the preseason with Watson?
We'll do the Watson after. Let's talk about.
We'll get to Watson in about 20 minutes.
Perfect.
Yeah. Let's talk about the Johnny Manziel thing. So now, I talked about a
One second, but we gotta go to break first.
Okay.
Before we get into Johnny Manziel, I just want to remind you at this time to subscribe to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Make sure you go to our page, hit that like button, ring that bell to stay up to date with all the latest news, all the latest information, all the latest alerts, like our podcast, Behind the Glass. Shout out to everybody who pulled up yesterday. We had over 2,000 live views. Our podcast did over 10,000 views yesterday. We had super chats. We had new members joining. Shout out to everybody who pulled up and supported. McNuggets was out there with the guns out. It was crazy. It was wild, man. So make sure you subscribe to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show.
Apparently nobody knew you had guns.
Yeah, I don't know what my reputation was prior to yesterday, but yeah.
But it's changed. People
So,
think
G, you were
was
the
more
one
manly now.
You were the one who didn't watch it. It was a lot that came out. This is for you all. You know,
Tyvis just said there was nothing out of there.
No, to me it was a lot. I enjoyed it, but you know when I watched it, it was clear that there were a lot of red flags with Johnny Manziel, and yet the Browns drafted him anyway. And I find it hard to believe that they did not do their homework before drafting him. So it led me to believe, okay, this was only to sell tickets. How far have the Browns organization come from that moment to now, in your opinion?
I don't believe that they only did it to sell tickets. That doesn't make any sense because if you knew he was going to be bad, the Browns sell tickets anyway. The Browns sell out every game every year. I don't. I think it was Jimmy Haslam. Let me be a little nice about it. I shouldn't be too mean. He is a shit ass owner. Okay, he sucks. He's a terrible owner. He's done almost nothing well. He walks like he just took a shit and didn't wipe himself. Okay, Jimmy Haslam's a bad owner. He meddles. He pits guys against each other. He don't know what the hell he's doing. The Browns have to try to win in spite of him. It's not going to change. He's not going to all of a sudden let guys do their jobs or be a better owner. He's a bad owner, but you can win with a bad owner but it's just more to overcome. So you got to deal with that. I know there'll be 25% of our audience that'll try to convince me he's a good owner. You're wrong. I'm right. He's a bad owner. Okay? There's really no debating that. So you have to overcome his stupidity and his meddling. And that's what happened with Johnny, is the owner just said, I want this guy. I'm fired up. He's Johnny Football. And I'm sure the football people did not want anything to do with Johnny Manziel, G, because there were all these red flags. All you had to do was talk to any coach with the Texas A&M system, and I'm sure the coaches. I remember when Johnny got drafted, we had Cliff Kingsbury on our radio show, and he talked about the fact that he basically said, I don't remember word for word exactly what he said, but he basically said Johnny doesn't practice much. He doesn't work hard. He said it in the documentary too. Right, but this is years later. Now, at the time, it was mind-blowing because you never heard a coach say that about a rookie, ever. So there's zero doubt that this move was 100% Jimmy Haslam. Again, I don't think it was selling tickets. I just think he overrode his football people because he was excited, like a fan, about Johnny Football, and it was extremely foolish because the guy had no business being drafted in the NFL.
This is very easy. This is why history is so pivotal. When I got into sports, they told you can't talk about politics or you can't talk about certain things, and we want to talk about sports. But what people don't realize is that everything that goes on in these organizations is political. It is. This was a political move. When you look at the Cleveland Browns back then, look at the traditional quarterbacks that they had. They tried to go with the All-American boy and Colt McCoy. They tried to go with Brandon Wheaton. The savvy 30-year-old, we'll draft him. They tried to go with Colt McCoy, the down south good old boy. They tried to go every which way. They tried to get MAC conference guy, Charlie Fry, he's from here. They went and got the backup quarterback. Let's get Jeff Garcia in here. They tried every which way they could to get a quarterback, and it all failed. Just like when we talk about our political system here in the United States. When people get fed up, the pendulum tends to swing. You go from really over here liberal to way over here conservative, over the top conservative. So you can see that play out in our political system. People were tired. They felt like they was taking L's. They don't have any pension. The job market sucks. They feel they're overlooked. So they're looking for something. They're looking for somebody that stands for them or to give them a feeling, not action, but a feeling. Johnny Manziel gave you a feeling.
That's right.
He made you feel like, hey, who cares about the establishment? The establishment got us all these L's all these years. We tried the clean-cut quarterback, but maybe let's try this guy. And at least he tells us how he feels, and at least he's real about his partying while everybody else is phony about it. And he goes out there and he plays with certain exuberance. And he makes a couple plays, and he makes you believe it. That is why they took Johnny Manziel. And it rubbed off on the ownership. And the owner is looking for any answer swimming. And you know what they always say? When you're swimming, the worst thing you can do is try to save somebody who's drowning, because they end up pulling you down because they're panicking. And that was a panic move.
It's crazy that when you go back to the 2014 NFL draft, as bad as Johnny Football was as an NFL player and as bad as the draft pick that turned out to be, it wasn't even the Browns' biggest mistake of the first round. Like, Justin Gilbert was the 9th overall pick that year. And he was a worse NFL player than Johnny Football was.
No, he was. I mean, they were equally bad.
No. Justin Gilbert started, 2 games?
Yeah, real quick, the 10 guys drafted directly after Gilbert all made at least one Pro Bowl.
Yeah, but they were both complete shit.
But I'm just saying, it wasn't like that scouting department that year nailed one pick.
Yeah.
It was 2 colossal failures.
Yeah.
The thing that stood out to me most about the Johnny Football doc, he admitted, I'm not a football player that likes to party. I'm a frat boy who happens to be really good at football. And to be open, and obviously in hindsight now, but to be open about that and to realize who he was in that time, and I mentioned this on your podcast last night, Bull, Johnny Football came to prevalence as soon as Twitter became a real thing. And Johnny Football's rise to stardom, to the levels he reached, were exactly in line with when social media started becoming a thing and amping guys up to levels they had never seen before. I don't blame, or I understand, I guess, why Johnny Manziel thought he was on top of the world when he's hanging out with LeBron James and Drake, and he's the coolest guy at some of the coolest parties in the world. He's walking into parties, and celebs are asking him for pictures. He's just a little kid from San Antonio, Texas. It's never been like that. And he was amped up to a level that it felt like, at least in his mind, he couldn't be knocked off that perch because he never had to work hard in his life. He was just naturally good at football. He was able to do football and party at the same time. And when it came down to that next level, he had no interest in ever really putting in the work. He never, and he said it, I never really loved football in that sense. I never was willing to work hard. He watched 0 hours of film. He didn't practice. Like, that wasn't who Johnny Football was. He was a frat boy who was really good at football. And once it got to that next level where he had to put in the work to compete, he wasn't willing to do it. And that's sad because it seems like he could have been.
I don't know that he ever could have been good. If he had worked hard, maybe he had been serviceable. I guess we'll never.
I'm saying, but look at what he was without trying. Had he put in a little bit of effort,
To be, you got to think about it like this: to be a quarterback in the NFL and not know any of your playbook, to watch no film work, and to not even practice that much, and be high or drunk 90% of the time, you have to have talent. Like, that's crazy. That's like saying you're gonna throw touchdown passes against guys who do this for a living. Yeah. He doesn't even know the plays. He's just running around out there, which is the crazy part about it. I remember the first time we played against the Bengals.
Oh my God!
And they just it was one of the most. It was disrespectful. Like, he just didn't know where to go with the rock. He was getting sacked. They was doing this little dance over top of his face. I just think he's a guy who, to me, he had mental issues. Like,
clearly,
what he was diagnosed with, like, being bipolar.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people in the NFL, when you go back and look at it, there's a lot of people in the NFL that fit that same description of, hey, I got the most money I ever had. I'm rich. I'm Johnny Manziel. I went in the first round, and then he says, I walked on the field and was even more miserable than I was before, which was crazy.
Yeah. Go ahead, Earl.
A couple things. First, we got a super chat. Devoid Archangel. I don't know what the hell that says, but he says Haslam is the owner lady from the movie Major League. I got a comment about that, but boy, correct me if I'm wrong. I remember listening to your radio show at the time, and you all were talking about the Browns had hired a firm to kind of help them try to figure out which direction they should go in the draft, and the consensus was like Odell Beckham and Teddy Bridgewater. Yet somehow we ended up with Justin Gilbert and Johnny
honestly, I don't
Manziel.
remember that. I remember him hiring some firms. I don't remember specifically. Now that you say it, it's kind of striking a chord. And in fairness, Teddy Bridgewater hasn't had a good career either.
No.
But I'd much rather have had him than Johnny Manziel.
Teddy Bridgewater's still playing. Johnny Manziel just checked out of rehab.
Teddy Bridgewater's a backup quarterback, but he's a good, again, he wasn't the answer either.
Yeah.
But at least he's a career quality backup. And obviously Odell,
I look at the parallels very, very similarly. Like, along the lines of the pendulum swings, when they went back and they drafted Baker Mayfield, it was still some of the same stuff, but to a lesser degree. And so if you look at the two most polarizing quarterbacks in the city, and people will say they divided the city. It was a Brian Hoyer versus Manziel, and people used to argue every day about it. Then it was Baker Mayfield versus whoever it is on the other side of the spectrum. People yelled about it, or it was.
I think that Baker was more just you believe in him or you don't.
Yes,
more than another quarterback specifically. Until Watson got traded.
Right,
over.
right.
Yeah.
So, and people love Baker because once again, you tried it the other way. Like the other way was like, hey, we'll go through the draft, we'll bring some people in, and it just never really worked. So,
and in fairness, Baker had some success, of course,
and he did.
Unlike Johnny,
and he was in his playbook, and he never was outwardly alcoholic. None of that stuff.
So the one thing in the Johnny docket didn't touch on that I think is a big reason Manziel ended up being a first-round pick, and the reason he was the Heisman winner that year. Mike Evans was so good that season at A&M, and Mike Evans bailed Johnny's ass out. Now, this is not taking Johnny was unbelievable in his own right.
Yeah.
Mike Evans was so good and Mike Evans is still playing, by the way. He's the only receiver in NFL history with 9 straight 1,000-yard seasons starting his career. He was so good. You mentioned Baker, and the parallel. I know you texted us bigger mistake, Baker or Manziel. I'm not sure if you thought that was do you think anyone argue Baker? It's definitely Manziel was the bigger mistake.
Well, I would actually, to G's defense, I would actually argue Baker was the bigger mistake because with Manziel, who else was I going to draft at that point? What quarterback? Was there a quarterback taken later in that draft? That was that good?
I can't remember. That was a weak quarterback draft.
There was
Blake
no
Bortles
quarterback.
Was the first quarterback off the draft.
Obviously, Manziel's the far worse. Baker Mayfield, if he wanted to and had a good attitude, could last in the league as a backup forever.
I call Baker a bigger mistake because you got 2 quarterbacks that you didn't take.
You could have Lamar or Josh Allen.
You can look at misses. You can look at misses however you want.
Yes.
I think the reality situation is it's a bigger miss on Manziel because you avoided every red flag humanly possible under the sun. His workout, he was throwing routes to his agent and his guy.
But again, Mike, I don't believe. Obviously, I don't know this with 100% certainty. I don't believe that the football people had anything to do with drafting Manziel. I think it was 100% a Jimmy Haslam move. So I don't think they missed the red flags. I think Jimmy didn't care about the red flags.
If that is true, then obviously that changes the equation. But I'm just looking at pick versus pick.
Right.
Baker, like you said, at least Baker could be a competent NFL quarterback.
Yeah. I
if
mean, Baker had a better attitude, he could be a career backup.
Yeah. So Manziel, I think, had no chance at ever having a sustained career in the NFL.
Well, the reason I say even mention this is because it stung a little bit more with Baker because he came after the 1-31.
Right.
So you sat through hell.
He's supposed to be the savior.
And he was like, okay, we finally got it. We good. And then when it progressed and it wasn't, and what ended up costing you was this. That happened, and then it took you 3 first-round picks.
Right.
After that.
If they had now listen, who knows? Maybe Josh Allen wouldn't have been as good here. We'll never know, right?
Right.
But if they drafted Josh Allen, who knows what this whole history of this franchise could have been totally different. Plus, you would have had all those, as you said, you still would have had those 3 first-round picks.
I mean, or you
now, in fairness, there weren't that many people here, myself included, saying draft Josh Allen.
Yeah, me either.
I didn't believe. I wasn't a Josh Allen believer. I like Lamar. I actually like Lamar.
I like Lamar,
but I embarrassingly like Josh Rosen.
In hindsight,
total
right?
piece of garbage. What's that?
Well, you remember? I got a question. In hindsight, so everybody remember when John Dorsey took over as the Browns general manager, and before he had even took over, he had just left the Chiefs. He was doing a lot of independent scouting, etc. And I'm just wondering now. It seems like he had already predetermined that Baker Mayfield was going to be his pick. And knowing what we know about how John Dorsey went about certain business, I wonder if he even did any due diligence on the other quarterbacks that was coming out. Because we heard Baker Mayfield's name attached to John Dorsey literally the moment that he took this job.
I'm sure they did
I'm
their
sure
due
he did
diligence.
his due diligence, but I guess you never know, right? Teams passed on Patrick Mahomes. The Chicago Bears saw Patrick Mahomes and Mitch Trubisky, and they took Mitch Trubisky.
Crazy.
Mitch Trubisky, like how much? That's nightmares.
Drafting a quarterback is the hardest science in the entire realm of sports.
It is.
The way we evaluate it is impossible. No skill is like purely translatable. It's so mental. I mean, look at the hit rate of first-round quarterbacks, and we're seeing more and more drafted every year. It's like 37 or 38%.
Is the hit rate any hot? The only reason but part of that is
because you look
teams reach on quarterbacks because
lot.
they're so desperate for a quarterback.
Fair.
Sometimes they'll take a guy who's not worthy of a first-round pick.
Like-
where you're less likely to do that at another position.
like the dude from Florida this year. What's his name?
Anthony Richardson.
Yeah.
He's not like off just playing, and I didn't see him
Right.
play a lot. He's tantalizing. He got everything you want in a quarterback. You look like Cam Newton running away from people, like it. But what you got to understand is when you get to that next level, it's so different when you talk about quarterbacks. I be talking to Bernie, and this messed up. Bernie Kosar might be one of the smartest football people I've ever. And I watch stuff, and he'll tell me about different things and how I'm gonna move with the safety, and I'm gonna do this and call this. Like you understand that Bernie was calling his own plays. You know how crazy that is. That means he's calling the run plays, the pass plays. He's doing sequencing. Think about that.
He's basically telling Belichick to go F himself.
Hey, yep. And even the fact that he did that, but think about it. If you got a quarterback that was doing the equivalent of what Kevin Stefanski is doing behind that big sheet, and he has to go out and actually do it.
Who did Kansas City trade with to get to the 10th pick?
I don't remember. Was it the Browns?
No, the Browns took Myles Garrett first that year.
Right. That's right.
Was it Buffalo?
I don't remember.
I didn't.
Watson went before Mahomes too.
Watson, yeah.
They traded up to take Mahomes, and Watson went 2 picks later.
Oh,
So
Watson
they traded
went
up to
after?
10. The Browns was at 12, and then the Browns traded down to 25.
Yeah, that's true. The Browns could have taken Watson or not Mahomes. Well, they could have. I mean, look at as great as Myles Garrett is, they still should have taken Mahomes.
You should have took
number
Patrick
one,
Mahomes in hindsight. Yeah.
right? I mean,
That's crazy.
as great as Myles Garrett is, and the pick was one of the few hits they've made, it still ultimately was the wrong pick because they should have taken Mahomes. Every team should. I mean, it's crazy.
They missed on him.
How did we not?
The
how
Bills.
did everybody? And by the way, I wasn't here saying draft Patrick Mahomes.
Nope.
I'm not gonna be a phony about it.
I didn't.
I'm going to be totally honest.
It was the Bills, by the way.
Okay.
I'm gonna be totally honest with you. I remember the year before that was the year we took what was it? Deshaun Kaiser.
Oh God.
And I knew the Browns was gonna suck. I knew like we didn't have any quarterbacks that had career starts. And I remember telling my cousin I was okay with it. I am not being a phony when I tell you this. I've been a huge fan of Deshaun Watson since he was at Clemson. And I was like, the Browns gonna suck. They're gonna have the number 1 pick, and you can just take Deshaun Watson number 1 overall. I didn't know much about Patrick
Well, that
Mahomes.
would have been good. I mean, certainly the first choice should have been Mahomes. The second choice should have been Watson. And then again, we all love that Myles Garrett's here. It's hard to complain about a Myles Garrett pick.
You
But
take Mahomes every time. Real quick,
Yes.
you ready for the trade details of this trade?
yeah,
And I only say because there's one very familiar name in here.
Yeah.
The Bills traded the 10th overall pick to Kansas City,
yeah.
which turned into Mahomes, for a 2018 first-round pick, Rashawn Evans, a 2017 first-round pick, Tre'Davious White, and a 2017 third-round pick, John Johnson III,
That's funny.
who then was traded to LA.
By the way, if I remember correctly, the pick before Patrick Mahomes was the Bengals, who overall have drafted very well the last few years. But that year, they drafted John Ross.
Oh,
One
I
pick
remember
before
that.
Patrick
I remember that.
Mahomes. Oh,
And
my
he
God.
never played.
Never. He sucked. When he did play, he couldn't hold on to the ball.
He was cold and mad.
He was
though.
basically Anthony Schwartz, except in the first round.
Man, that's crazy.
That 4-1 speed was real.
Oh, my God.
Yeah,
He sucked.
this draft was kind of loaded.
John Ross did go 9, right?
He did go 9.
Yeah.
McCaffrey was in that draft. Jamal Adams, Marshawn Lattimore, Hassan Reddick, Watson, Marlon Humphrey, Jonathan Allen, Evan Ingram, Tre'Davious White, T.J. Watt, Buda Baker, Dalvin Cook, Joe Mixon, Juju, Alvin Kamara, Cooper Kupp, Chris Godwin, Kareem Hunt, Shaquille Griffin, Trey Hendrickson,
There's a lot of talent there.
A lot of good draft.
Yeah.
George Kittle, late round pick.
What was the Browns' second pick in that?
Njoku.
When they traded down?
It was David Njoku and it was Jabril Peppers. David Njoku.
David Njoku and Jabril Peppers. Yeah.
They took Jabril Peppers.
Yeah, he was a waste.
At 25, and then Njoku at 29.
Right.
They took Njoku one pick before T.J. Watt. They could have came out of that draft with Myles Garrett and T.J. Watt.
Can you imagine? Oh, my God. All right. It is what it is now. Let's move it. Let's keep it moving. We'll get to Deshaun Watson in the preseason in a second. First, we go to Earl.
Yeah, once again, man, don't forget to subscribe to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Ring that bell so you can stay in tune with the latest updates. And then anytime we go live here, anytime we go live on Behind the Glass. And, of course, once the NFL season kicks off, when we go live on the Cleveland Browns postgame show, at the 2-minute warning every single time. All right, so as we move forward, I want to start with this tag board. I don't usually play tag board, so hopefully I can get this right. It has sound to it. Take a listen to this. Steve, tell me when you're ready.
Gotta hit the play button and the sound down. We really miss Anthony today. This is Anthony's special. Anthony's the tag board doctor.
I don't think it's working.
Oh, boy.
No, it's not working. It's not working. But anyway.
Tag board freezes all the time, Earl. That's not you.
Yeah, so Joe Thomas was on Dan Patrick's show. And I remember we had this conversation that got a little heated last week, and it sounded like that he went to the defense of Deshaun Watson. You know, when Dan Patrick tried to get him to.
The clip I heard, I wouldn't describe it as the defense of Deshaun Watson. I would just based on what that one clip that I heard. That's the one you're talking about, right?
I wish we had that clip.
Yeah, it is.
You tweeted about it too.
What
I tweeted it.
He just what he said basically was nobody in Cleveland wants to talk about the off the field stuff anymore. It's in Cleveland. It's old news. People want to talk about what's happening on the field, and he's right. He's right.
Yeah.
Now, Deshaun Watson, I don't think, is really getting asked questions about it anymore at this point, is he? There are media members nationally that are still talking about it here and there, but I don't think Deshaun Watson's really being asked about it anymore.
Locally, he's not being asked about that question too much. Like, I haven't heard any. Matter of fact, it was from the one guy who did it at the beginning. Was I don't think he was a local guy who put the initial quote out about being the narrative or something, right? Like, who was that guy? He was like
the person who put it out wasn't a local guy.
Right.
It was asked by a local reporter, but it wasn't about the allegations.
Right.
It was about him sharing his story. I think Mary Kay
just kind of.
I think Mary Kay actually asked the question, and then he mentioned it in his answer.
It's been like, what can be said at this point?
Yeah.
There's nothing left to be said. If there were new news, if there was another allegation, if there was something that came out that proved somebody was lying, okay, there'd be something worth talking about. At this point, there's nothing worth talking about off the field. There's no news.
And, you know, Chris Collinsworth was saying in the Hall of Fame game, people were reaching out and saying, like, you know, he's like, so what are we gonna say about this? Like, you know, we definitely have to talk about, you know, the elephant in the room before we can even talk about him on the field. And people were confused as hell because they were like, Deshaun Watson played in one preseason game when the allegations were going on. You could have been talking about it. Mm-hmm. There was a whole season last year where he didn't play, where you could have prefaced it and talked about it. And then he came back and played for 6 games, in which you could have.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know why it just feels like, isn't that out of you guys' system? It's like you're just overproducing it. And what I'm trying to do, what I did is I'm setting it up for the guys that watch the TV that are going to watch the Browns. They're going to talk about it. Like, you know, it's not really over and done and buried. So what you got to do is just, like, expect it and watch the game and be like, oh, here they go again with that. But don't be surprised when they bring it up, because every telecast, they got a new cast of people in there that are going to have to say, we have to say that he was accused of blah, blah, blah. Hopefully that wears down as you win games.
Yeah, I'm not so sure they're going to still bring it up during games, because
the first half of the season they will.
I don't know. I'm not as convinced as you guys are. It was talked about all last year. I just don't know. What is the point? Who are they trying to appease with that?
Who are they appealing to?
Yeah, I mean, if you're watching the game, you know, anytime we talk about anything that's not sports, that's, you know, that somebody disagrees with, people say don't talk about politics, but people only say that if you're saying something that they disagree with. If I was saying something that they agreed with, they wouldn't care
that is the coldest. That is the coldest thing you've ever said. Bull, you are exact correct. The people who say I don't want to hear about politics don't really care about it. It's political. They care about They care about saying you disagree with something that I actually agree with,
right?
And I'm being made to feel bad about my choice to support that.
100%, and that's why people say that. And I think it's the same thing with Watson. I mean, it's like at this point, I don't think most football fans, even if they're not Browns fans, that are watching the Browns play the Bengals week 1, they don't care about that. You think Bengals fans watching that game really care at this point? They know they're going to take pot shots, just like Browns fans took pot shots when the Bengals had 5 guys that had been arrested.
Yep.
Just like Browns and Bengals fans took pot shots at Ben Roethlisberger. Just like Browns fans, Bengals fans, and Steeler fans took pot shots at Ray Lewis when he was involved in whatever the hell that happened there.
Facts.
That's going to happen.
Yeah.
But if I'm a Bengals fan and I'm watching them play the Browns, if I'm a Jets fan, I'm watching them play the Browns. If I'm a Giants fan, I know the story. Why do you bring it up at this point?
Because
I don't care.
The reason, and this is more fans, and I'll get back to the game, is it's low-hanging fruit. It's the easiest joke you can make, and people aren't original, and they're not funny, and they
joke?
Think
what do you mean? But play-by-play guys are kind of
no, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying this is the Twitter side, the fan side of it.
Oh, that's fine.
But when you make a joke about Ben Roethlisberger, Ray Lewis, or whatever, like, it's the low-hanging fruit. It's the easy one to make, and for the most part, myself included, we're not that funny or creative when it comes to that. You're gonna make a joke.
I'm funny. I don't know about you.
Whatever. As far as like the broadcast goes, I think at least for the first couple of games it'll be brought up because it'll be tied into. Well, he only played 6 games last season because he was suspended because of that,
Certainly
and we need to see how. So for the first couple until he gets.
But I just think it's
a quarter of the way into the season.
I think it's going to be a one-time mention, and then that's it. And so what?
Yeah.
I
don't think it'll be harped throughout the broadcast.
Yeah.
But if someone wants to go into a game, say if they say one thing about Deshaun Watson's off-field situation, I'm turning it off. You're not going to watch the first 5-6 games.
That's silly.
It's going to be mentioned, and then it'll eventually phase itself out.
It's not going to be a recurring topic on the broadcast.
Yeah, like it was last year. I think what Joe Thomas said, and I want to parrot this almost word for word because he said it best. Deshaun Watson is allowed to play in the NFL. He is no longer suspended.
He served his time.
He did what he was suspended. He served his time. He's back in the field, and he is playing football for the Browns in 2023. You can feel however you want to feel about whatever you want to feel.
You have every right to.
Every right to.
Yeah.
But he's playing. Let's enjoy watching him play.
It was more of a defense of the Browns. He made one other thing he said towards the end of that was there were a lot of other teams that wanted Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
And it was crickets. So it was like,
if you are a good football player and you can help a team win, they will overlook
everything.
Literally everything.
Everything.
Yes.
The better you are, the more they'll overlook. What happened with
Perrion Winfrey? If that was Aaron Donald, he's still a member of the Rams.
Of course, Patrick Mahomes could do almost anything, and they wouldn't cut him.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
The elephant in the room is that when somebody said this, that once you become a media member or a writer for so long, you start to feel like you're the story. That you start to understand I do have some sway. I do have some power. I can write what I want to write. I could do, and there's no recourse for that because I have a platform, a very large one, to say what I need to say or give my opinion. But after a while, when you're in the game for so long, I never want to be this way. Like these guys used to be on SportsCenter, hit between him and Rich Eisen and Keith Olbermann and a lot of those dudes. Kenny Mayne. I used to look up to a lot of those guys because I thought they was pioneers in what they did. But as you get older and older and older, it's just almost like they got this get off my lawn mentality where it's just like, I mean, this guy's horrible. This guy's trash. I don't want to watch him. And for me, it shows just how out of touch with society you are. Because after you get somewhere so long and you make a certain amount of money, you're insulated from seeing other viewpoints. You're just isolated. You got enough money that I can live where I want, where I can just be around the same people. I don't have to go where people are that I don't want to see. I can use the internet and my television to watch the programming that's speaking definitely to me. So what happens is when you stop expanding your horizons and learning and being more inclusive, you turn into a person that is very narrow-minded when you're speaking to a very wide group of people. And I think Joe Thomas did a really good job in this piece by just saying, look, he could play. He served his time. Browns fans is trying to win just like everybody else is. Other people wanted this guy. The Browns are happy to get him. Hey, let's talk about some ball.
And that's it. And I think that's, listen, if Rich Eisen wants to have a conversation about Deshaun Watson off the field, I mean, that's his business. It's his show. He can do whatever he wants. Like if I'm being interviewed about the Browns, I would assume that the person's going to ask me at some point about Deshaun Watson. And my answer at this point, and I've talked about it a ton. Everybody knows we just talked about it last week. But at this point, I'd say it's all. What else is left to be said?
Nothing.
There's
The answer is nothing
left to be said. Everybody's in their camps.
Posted.
Which happens with everything.
Eating dinner.
And nobody's changing their mind on anything. I mean, as you say, in politics, we get information all the time, facts all the time. Nobody changes their mind. Doesn't matter.
It don't matter.
You ignore everything's made up. We've decided, one side's decided everything's made up. So that's it. So nobody ever changes their mind anymore. I try to. Some people do. I think we do on this show. But most people are so close-minded about everything. And that's it. So I honestly feel like I have nothing left to say.
Nothing.
Unless there is new news, I have nothing left to say about Deshaun Watson off the field. We've talked about it a million times. I want to see him play football. That's honestly all I care about right now.
That's it.
Yeah.
So for me, I agree like with Bull. I think fans are going to fan. They're fanatics, right?
Yeah.
Fans are going to do what fans do. They're going to say whatever they're going to say. I think locally it's not a thing. Nationally it's a thing. And I know I personally can't control no narratives, but you've seen it with Ray Lewis and you've seen it with Big Ben. You know, a lot of people with a lot of negative things to say, and then these guys get past that certain adversity in their personal life. They move forward to have successful careers, and these same men that was dogging them, all of a sudden they want to praise them. Personally, I just want you to keep the same energy. Like a Bull G McNuggets, I am so serious. When and if this man step out here and he start balling out of control, the Browns are winning games and he's ranked in the top 7 or 8 of every passing category. I want people like Dan Patrick and Rich Eisen to keep the same energy.
But see, I disagree with that, Earl, because it's two different things, his play on the field and off the field.
But they're already biased, though. They already feel some type of way about it.
So what you don't want, if Deshaun Watson plays great, you don't want Dan Patrick to say he's playing great?
I don't want him to say nothing good about him. You ain't got nothing good to say about him.
I don't agree with that. I don't think one has to do with the other.
I think it does. Because if you got that energy now, what should him playing good? Why should your energy change? If you feel this way about him now, him playing successful or being successful on the football field, like keep the same energy. You don't.
But you can separate the art from the artist. Like I like Kanye music,
but they're not trying to do
music,
that.
But I don't like.
You can't separate the art from the art. Ain't nobody been trying to separate the art from the artist all this time. People acting like those 6 games define who Deshaun Watson is. They was not trying to separate the art from the artist last year, so don't try to do it now. Keep the same energy you got.
I just don't agree with that philosophy.
Well, here's the way. I'm going to ask you a question and see if you vibe with it. I'm wholeheartedly being who I am and understanding the way the game works in this country. Deshaun Watson could be the best player in the league. He's not going to win He's not going to win an MVP.
Probably not.
Yeah.
And so
that's fair.
So watch this. So if Earl is saying you can't separate the artist from the art for the artist, well, that just proves they can't, because even when his play on the field is of an MVP caliber, what is stopping him from voting for him?
It would only prove it if we're actually right. We don't know for sure that we're right. We're all assuming he wouldn't win the MVP, and if that happened, if he was clearly the MVP and didn't win it, then we could say, okay. We've seen that with other votes. We've seen that with Hall of Fame. There's a variety of reasons that some voters forget nothing. He didn't do anything wrong, but there were some people that were like, well, we can't vote for LeBron MVP every year, so let's vote for somebody else. And without even a controversial reason. So there's a lot of reasons why people say or do the wrong thing in terms of voting or whatever. I just think For me, I don't care. I'm not paying attention to Dan Patrick. I don't watch his show. I don't watch Rich Eisen. I don't watch any of that stuff. If Rich Eisen or Dan Patrick say, I don't like Deshaun Watson, I think he's whatever. Okay. And if you think that's wrong or you're pissed off that he said that, you or whoever has every right to be pissed off. You disagree with him. Okay, that's fine. But then if Deshaun Watson's playing great and Dan Patrick goes, man, I tell you, I'm not a big Watson fan, but I got to give him credit. He's playing great. I mean, why would I have a problem with that? I don't know.
I do believe, to what you say, I believe that if you are presented with new information,
right,
everybody should have a out card to say, I've received new information and I could have space and time to change my mind. I think everybody should have that a little bit. For me, when you talk about the national media, I've always had this sort of theory. I've always said that the Cleveland Browns really are America's team. And you're like, why are you talking about that? They talk about the Cowboys. You guys come from other states, right? Texas and New York. Really big union states.
Well, no, he's from New Jersey originally.
But that's another big hub, right? So, you know, when you talk about the Cleveland Browns, right, have you ever seen a team who is traditionally not good, has not won a Super Bowl, get this much attention?
Cowboys
got 3 championships.
Well, not.
Yeah, but I think that's because of Watson. Otherwise, the Browns wouldn't be getting any attention.
Well, here's the thing.
Yeah.
When Baker was here, they got all the attention.
It was a polarizing storyline, and the Browns had made the playoffs for the first time in forever.
Odell Beckham Jr., polarizing, right? Like they had, like, for the last 7 years, for the team that has not done anything, but they are on national TV from all the time.
And then Johnny Manziel
before that.
But yeah, the Browns have had a lot of national stories, mostly bad. But there's been a lot of national storyline. I don't look at any team as America's team. I always thought that was stupid to say about the Cowboys. I don't look at any team as America's team. I just saw some poll or something where the Bengals were listed as the 3rd or 4th most popular team in the NFL, and I'm like, 5 years ago they were probably the 28th most popular team in the league. They get Joe Burrow, now they're 3rd or 4th. I mean, it changes.
Well, Joe Burrow, I think, is, if you ask who's the most likable quarterback in the league, it's Joe Burrow.
More than Mahomes?
No, it's definitely Mahomes.
Bro, look.
It's definitely Patrick Mahomes.
It's definitely Mahomes.
People like Mahomes. I'm not saying Mahomes ain't there, but man, people love Joe Burrow.
Girls love Joe Burrow.
Like, they love Joe Burrow. Like, it ain't like, I have not heard one person say one bad thing about Joe Burrow.
Yeah. I'll say something bad about Joe Burrow right now. He takes baths instead of showers.
He does?
Takes what?
I don't know. I'm just trying to think of
I'm about to say that's
I don't know what you said.
He takes baths instead of showers.
Oh.
And that's nasty.
Mahomes puts ketchup on his steak.
That's inappropriate.
I agree. That's like a giant. Like,
Burrow is an Ohio kid, though, so there's a bias there for me if I'm being honest. Like so our man JP, he likes to always remind me, well, he wasn't born here, but he was pretty much raised in Ohio. So like, like Joe Burrow.
I didn't know he wasn't born in Ohio. He was born in Iowa, right?
Yeah, he was born in Iowa.
Yeah, but didn't he spend almost his whole life?
Tell Peterlin that.
I mean, Steph Curry's from Akron.
Well, he was just born in Akron. I don't think.
Well, if we're going to use the same JP's logic that Burrow was born in Iowa, he's an Iowan kid, then we should claim Steph Curry.
Right, that's fair.
I just seen the chat. They said the Midwest kids get love. That's Midwest swing. I definitely understand that.
Burrow is very likable.
Yeah,
but so is Mahomes.
Yeah, and Josh Allen's likable too.
I don't find Josh Allen as likable as those two guys.
You know,
I don't know what it is.
This is so. For the Browns and the Bengals to have an inner city or interstate rivalry with all of the, the past and Paul Brown and all the vitriol, Joe Burrow is so likable that to some people, the Bengals are not a venomous rival. It's like when the Browns and Bengals play, say, oh, Browns and Bengals is playing. Oh, man, this is going to be a good game. See what's going to happen. It's never been like Joe Burrow came and it was just like, I could watch the Bengals play with no vitriol, and it's supposed to be a rivalry. But when it comes to the Ravens and them Steelers, I want them to lose every game. Like you said,
Yeah.
I want them to lose every single game.
Yeah.
And I don't feel the same way about the Bengals. I just feel like, oh, they got some good players over there. We're going to have to play well, or, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I think that's because of Joe Burrow and his personality. It's just like, you can't be mad at it. It's just like,
Yeah.
So, like, I know this happens, right? And you know, maybe my perspective is a little tough as far as, you know, keeping that same energy. But I feel like at some point, man, you got to pick a side, and you have to stay there. I've seen this with my own two eyes, and I won't name names, but I know people who will get comfortable on TV or on radio, and they'll talk down about him, totally disrespectful. And then they'll be at training camp with cameras and cheeses and all smiling in his face and waving and this, that, and the third. And maybe it's just me personally, maybe it's the emotional side of me, but that's fake behavior. If you really don't like this man, if you really got a preconceived bias about this man, then keep it. Like, I know, G, you said when you presented with new information, you have the right to change your mind, and you do. But balling out on the football field, to me, is not new information.
Right, but it's what I'm saying, Earl, is it's two different conversations. You don't, like, I have mixed feelings about Deshaun Watson, the person, right? We've talked about this. But I don't have any mixed feelings about him as a player. I think he's a great player. I think he's going to get back to being a great player this year, and I want him to do well. That doesn't mean I don't have to like every player the same. I don't really know the guys to like them in that way, but, like, if somebody said, like, if my son asked me to wear a Deshaun Watson jersey, I don't know what I would want to do. I don't know that he would ask me that, but I don't know. But if he wanted me, if he said, well, "Can I wear the Nick Chubb jersey?" Yeah, I wouldn't even think for 2 seconds.
What would be the conflict, boy?
I mean, the conflict seems pretty obvious. No,
I'm asking you seriously. What would be the conflict? What's the conflict between him wanting a Deshaun Watson jersey and a Nick Chubb jersey if they're both balling out on the field? What's the conflict?
Because one has been accused of a lot of ugly things off the field, and one hasn't.
But accusations don't make you guilty.
This is true. And I don't want to go down this whole road again because we've adjudicated this a million times already.
What I'm saying is, it's a choice, right? That's the great thing about you. We talk about United States all the time. The great thing about it is you got a choice, right? Yeah. Everybody has a choice whether they're gonna rock and roll with it or they're gonna turn their back on it. I'll give you an example, Earl. Today I was on Twitter. Somebody sent me something, and they sent me a video of an interaction between Deshaun Watson and Roger Goodell. And
when they were hugging?
Yeah, they hugged. So when they're hugging and dapping people up and laughing, see, what happens is on our level, we don't understand the political nature of the game, and we don't understand that this whole industry is fake. Everything here, like, this is not real life. This is what we but I understand that, like, it's harder for some people to separate that. I have a very difficult time, like Earl, separating the industry from the real stuff. When you see Goodell interacting with Deshaun Watson, what you see is two millionaires operating as millionaires.
That's right.
At the end of the day, he still got his money. At the end of the day, Roger Goodell still got, and Roger Goodell understands, hey, I'm trying to keep you in the fold, dog. We trying to keep you in the fold. Hey, I want you to be good. I want you to be great, because if you great, that means the Cleveland Browns fan base is excited about it. They're all mercenaries at the end of the day. Yeah. It's billionaires and millionaires. So that's why, and even Deshaun Watson, hey, no problem with that, because guess what? I'm still rich.
That's right. And Earl, to your point, like you said, well, you pick these sides and that's it. I think that's the problem in this country, is we do too much of picking sides and we never step out of those sides to listen to the other side. And I don't think we should condemn people for maybe changing their mind. Now, if you're changing your mind just because he's playing well, I get it, that's a different story. But your job as a sports talk show host is to give your opinions. Mm-hmm. And so if you don't think highly of Deshaun Watson, then as long as you're fair about it, or at least you think you're being fair about it, you may think somebody's not being fair, then it's a difference of opinion. But then talking about the player on the field is a different story. I don't think we can expect Dan Patrick to say, you know, if Deshaun Watson goes 35 for 40 for 422 yards and 4 touchdowns, to say, He really had a crappy game. I don't care about the.
No, I think this is a healthy conversation. So like, we all grew up different. We all have different perspectives on things. When I was a kid growing up, my favorite football player was Brett Favre, right? And the football player Brett Favre, major fan of him.
Yeah.
But there was things that, you know, you would hear about him off the football field that probably wouldn't be appeasing. And my parents just always raised me that athletes are entertainers. They are there for your entertainment.
Yeah.
These men that you do not know from a can of paint are nothing more than just entertainers for you. They're not your role models. They're not somebody to look up for. And I've had that mentality since I was like 8 or 9 years old.
So what are you saying? So it's wrong if I say I think Brett Favre is a scumbag?
Whatever. All I'm saying is, it's like, you know, when we talk about separating the art from the artist, and me and you've had conversations when I say, well, it's hard for me to say I don't like somebody because I don't know you. Deshaun Watson is a talented football player, and he's there for my enjoyment of entertainment, and that's it. That's all. And I think people, and maybe you're right, maybe I'm not being unfair with not giving people the option to change their mind, but I just think that when people try to draw a line in the sand, or when it comes to somebody over a situation that we got very little information about, I think you're not being fair and showing empathy. And that's one of the things, just as human beings, that we're supposed to do. Not be quick to judge. Be like, just show some empathy. And it seems like that's a lot of things that people's been doing.
Earl, and if you're that way, that's fine. But most of us, you hear information and you judge. It's kind of natural. It may be unfair. Part of our job of what we do in this business is giving opinions. And sometimes, and most of the time, honestly, even when it comes to sports stuff, we're giving opinions without having every single fact, right? We're criticizing a coach. We're criticizing a player. We don't have all the facts in those situations. We may have more than we have in the Watson situation. And you could say, well, it's unfair to be critical of Watson because we don't have all the facts. Well, if you're, on the other hand, is it unfair to be critical of the women that have accused him? In the same vein, right? Some people are shitting on them too. Is that fair?
No, I don't think it's fair at all. I think for me, like, I've always just, you know, tried to stay out of it because I got some opinions that is probably would make people uncomfortable if I addressed them. You know, you read your email. All I'm saying is I've seen this in real life. I've seen stuff like this in real life.
Absolutely. I get it. But part of our job is giving opinions on things. So we can't just sit here and have, I don't think, it's tricky. And that's why I said with my son in the Watson jersey, I didn't say no chance I would let him have the jersey. I said I really have to think about it. I know he's not going to ask me for a Watson jersey because he loves Joe Burrow. And he's got his Joe Burrow jersey.
But it's like G, real quick, G, but, you know, G is not a big Jed Wills fan.
No.
He's made it very clear.
Yeah.
If Jed Wills comes out and is the number 4 ranked PFF tackle this season,
you know what I'm going to say.
He's going to have to change his opinion and give kudos.
I'm adapting. Listen, I do blogs for a living. Anthony Walker, I say, Anthony Walker's garbage. Anthony Walker got on that joint and hit me up and said, okay, we're going to see smiley faces.
Right.
But then guess what? I had to look around when free agency came around and they ain't had nobody else. I said, you know what? We might want to go ahead and get back Anthony Walker. I'm sorry, dog. Come on back, bro. Come on back, do your thing.
And if Jedrick Wills came in studio with us, I don't think G has to shit on him in studio.
No.
I think it would be right to say, hey, I've been really critical of your play.
You did that with Greg Newsome.
I did that with Greg Newsome. Absolutely. I don't, sometimes you get caught up in the moment. Yeah, we're talking, and maybe you go a little further than you want. And because we're so comfortable in our situation.
But also, we are also entertainers.
That's right.
Like a lot of people, what we do is pseudo journalism,
There's no journalism.
There's none.
There's none.
Yeah. So we give an opinion. We give it an opinion about somebody. We're entertainers, right? Just like they're entertainers. And so when we look at it, and my recourse when I don't like something is I go to my blog. I go right. I get on right. I got a platform. I get on there. I create a video just like that. Just like they got a platform and they create what they want to do. At the end of the day, the greatest thing about sports and why I love sports is because I say it all the time. It does not matter what your religion is, your race, your color, how much money you got, where you came from. When you get on those white lines, you have all the opportunity in the world to change everybody's opinion.
Yeah.
Because what stands the test of time is what happens on that field. We are just guests. We are tertiary. We're people that look around and we're onlookers, right? And we are guessing in this game of professional sports. But what happens on the field, that's the iconic stuff. And Deshaun Watson has an opportunity to prove me wrong or right, Bull wrong or right, or Dan Patrick wrong or right.
Earl, I got a question for you. Do you think LeBron James is a clutch basketball player?
Is he a clutch basketball player?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
As clutch as Donovan Mitchell?
Wait, hey, no. This is serious. This is serious.
Go ahead, sorry.
So I'm asking this again so we get it in one clip. Do you think LeBron James is a clutch basketball player?
I think LeBron James is clutch.
Did you think he was a clutch basketball player after the 2011 finals when they didn't beat Dallas?
Yeah.
You still thought he was clutch after his
Yeah,
lackluster
he just had a bad
performance?
finals. I seen LeBron James over a long period of time to know he was clutch.
I didn't.
One bad finals wasn't going to change my mind about that.
He hadn't won a championship.
So this is exactly my point. So you were steadfast that he was clutch beforehand.
Yeah.
I'm actually in Bulls camp. I was not sure he was a legitimate MJ Kobe level closer.
Right.
And he's proven to be.
Yeah.
But after that finals, I was like, I'm not so sure if he has that immense clutch gene. And now he's developed either he had it and now I just was more tuned to it. But Earl, you answered that not the way I expected, so that was not what I wanted.
No, but
got him.
But the reality is that if you polled every sports fan, then how do you think LeBron is clutch? And now the number now would be a lot higher than it would be then.
Yeah.
Even if Earl disagrees, he'd be in the smaller percentage then. Now it's hard to deny that LeBron is clutch. At the time, you could. That was a major choke job that they lost that series.
And by the way, for us, this is riveting. This is to me, this is the most interested I've ever been in a Brown season in my life. And a lot of people come up to me and tell me, because of these storylines, what we just talked about for 30 minutes here is not only are some people have mixed feelings in the national media or local media, but there's people in the fan base that have mixed feelings about whether Deshaun Watson is worth it or what is he going to look like.
100%.
And so when you get that and it's on display, they also have mixed feelings about Kevin Stefanski. Some people have mixed feelings about Myles Garrett and how he plays.
The list goes, as you're saying that, we're going to get an answer, and there's a chance to change your opinion on, is Kevin Stefanski a good coach? Is Deshaun Watson in that elite category, or is he falling off? Is Nick Chubb worth $16 million? Is Elijah Moore the second coming of Jerry Rice?
Now you're pushing.
Is Jed Wilson?
Those questions are for every team.
But I'm just saying.
Yeah,
but I'm just, and that's obviously a joke because his preseason hype.
But is Myles Garrett a Hall of Famer?
Is Myles Garrett a Hall of Famer?
That's a big question, because if Myles Garrett does not win Defensive Player of the Year this year, I don't know that he ever will.
This is his best chance.
Yeah.
But there are so many questions that, whatever your opinion is today on August, what's today, the 11th, the 10th, if your opinion does not change on all these things, and it's not a shot at you, I'm just saying in general, for anyone, if your opinion doesn't change on a lot of these things from August 10th to the end of the season, that means we haven't learned anything. It means the Browns are probably 8-9 or 9-8. We're all disappointed.
I totally agree. I've never seen the stakes so high, but at the same time can go either way. Because if Stefanski does well, now you have to say, he's getting a contract extension. And he would be the first coach. I don't count Hugh Jackson's extensions. That was corny.
Yeah.
That was all smoke and mirrors. He'd be the first coach since 1999 to go on to a second contract.
I think I said this a few months ago. I feel like Stefanski's either gone after this year or he's here a decade plus.
There it is.
I feel like there's no in between.
And one good year can make everybody so much money. You look at the Johnny Doc real quick. Kevin Sumlin got a $4 million raise off of one good year. Cliff Kingsbury, who was never a good head coach, got head coaching jobs at a Power 5 program and the NFL off one good Johnny football season.
And he still looked like he don't care. I'm like, dang, Cliff
Kingsbury?
Yeah, he was just sitting there like.
By the way, if he were black, he would never have gotten it.
That's
never.
Yeah,
that's why Eric Bieniemy coaching them hard as hell in Washington. He watching Cliff Kingsbury in that penthouse like, damn it, how the hell did this guy get a job?
Like Cliff Kingsbury is the Johnny Manziel of coaches.
He was, by the way. Because he was just basically being like, Johnny to come to practice.
Kingsborough could be Rico Suave in the hood.
What's that?
yeah.
I couldn't hear that. What was that?
I said Cliff
Kingsbury,
he can pass for Rico Suave in the hood, man. He just he got this swag to him. He looked like he just got this persona. The ladies love him. The fellas want to be around him.
And it looked like he moving bricks of cocaine allegedly.
He does look like he's moving.
He looked like he's just they drop kilos off to him, and he has a system just like getting them off
Kingsbury mob family, the whole nine.
Oh my goodness.
There's very few people who you look at and be like, I could see him doing 1,000 jobs. Like I look at Bull, I see like 3 jobs that Bull could do, just visually speaking.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, radio.
Slightly insulting.
No, that's a compliment because I think you do one of the 3 jobs I think you could be doing, which is.
What's the other 2? We got like a little bit over a minute.
But,
Do you really want to know?
Go ahead.
I can see Bull being a plumber. I know he's gonna get mad at me for
Plumber.
this.
I've got no. I cannot fix anything.
Well, I know.
I am the least.
I'm not
person
saying
on
what
the
you
face
can't.
of
I'm
the
saying
earth.
vision. I look at you. I'm like, it's either a guy who.
Because you can picture my
Pick-
ass crack hanging out.
Picture the last one. Go to the last one. Last one.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say garbage man.
No. Bull can
Damn.
do. Bull. I got Bull on 3 positions, right? I think he could be like a police precinct chief. The second one is
He could be like a mall cop.
what he. Damn, he didn't got that. He downgraded you,
He's
right?
killing me now.
But I think.
You said your ball sack weighed more than me yesterday. It's a little bit of payback.
I think you missed your true calling. I think you would be a good actor.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I
Kevin
can see him
James.
being a middle
Kevin
school
James is better.
principal.
Why's it got to be a fat guy?
Well, you're Kevin James, but better.
Like
James sucks as an actor.
I think you can really play
you.
on a sitcom.
Somebody's complimentary.
I can see.
We'll
I
see
see.
it
He could be a principal. I mean, come on now.
Principal? I could be like, did you ever see that movie?